What the fuck is going on, people? It is May 28th, 2014. We got a new bantamweight champion, people. TJ Dillashaw. Huge upset over Renan Barão this past Saturday at UFC 173. We're going to be breaking down that entire card, along with the week in MMA news. Just today, crazy news coming down. Wanderlei Silva out. He ran out of a drug test. He's out of the fight against Chael. Vitor Belfort is now going to face him at UFC 175. We're also going to break down Robbie Lawler taking on Matt Brown and what will be a barn burner. 2 cards this Saturday. The UFC Fight Night Munoz Musasi card and the Tough Brazil 3 finale. A ton to talk about. Let's do it, people.
We did it for the love of the game. We did it, mama. I did it for. Mama, the game will never be the same. We did it, mama. I did it for.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
Thank you very much, Lenny Hart. It is the MMA Podcast, the 92nd MMA Podcast. We're pumped to break down a ton of stuff. Like I said in the intro, TJ Dillashaw, a huge upset. We're going to break down that fight and the whole UFC 173 card to start off the show. If you want to be a part of the show, you can call in. The number's 213-457-3380, or you can Skype us at the MMA Podcast, tweet us at the MMA Podcast. As always, we're doing it live on Ustream here on Wednesday night. Listen to our partners, MMA Mental at MMAmental.com. Ray is always doing a ton of interviews with relevant UFC fighters, Bellator fighters, World Series of Fighting fighters. A really good job he's doing over there at MMA Mental. And of course, Word on the Street. I am the producer of that show. That's every Tuesday night. Last night we had MMA legend Robert Follis on with Coach Huey. We usually have Coach Jamie Huey on every week. If you do want to check out the MMA Podcast, just visit us at themmapodcast.com. I like to keep that page updated with all the recent big news. I'm not gonna flood it with 10 stories a day and 2 you care about. I'm only gonna post 2 or 3 things up a day, only the big news. Check it out. And of course, up at the top, you can click on the tabs to subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, or just check us out on Facebook or Twitter. Enough of me pimping my own shit, though. We're joined by 4 people I can all call good friends of mine. He took a little break from podcasting, but I'm so glad we have him back, especially to break down Dillashaw Barão, because if you listened to last week's episode, my boy pretty much called it, pretty much literally said exactly how the fight was going to go down. He is the most intelligent Jew businessman in the business. E before the L, Ross Finkelstein. What the fuck is up, cocksucker?
Jake, what is up? Many things are up. The biggest thing that's up is we have a new UFC bantamweight champion, but we'll get to that later in the show because I know you have your little thing worked out here at the MMA Podcast. Yes, this is the MMA Podcast, and speaking to you right now is the man some call the best Jew in the business, but to me, I'm just Ross. You can find me on Twitter, though, at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. Check out the newest poster on my Twitter, the Sonnen Belfort poster, which obviously we'll also get into that. Also check out Mr. Sonnen's page himself. The poster is everywhere. It's amazing. It's going viral. Be a part of it, people. E before the L at Ross Finkelstein. Remember, believe. Believe
in the Jew. A drop of him we got last night that I'll probably save for a later edition of the MMA Podcast, but it's a good one, ladies and gentlemen.
You will never play it. Ever.
All right.
Ever.
We will see about that. Another friend of mine, he is the podcast's resident ninja. If you've subscribed to us, chances are he's, we like to make sure our listeners are of, good ilk. So, chances are the ninja has been in your house, looked around, made sure you're a good guy, if you are listening. But he is the Gracie Ninja. He's coming from us. He's coming to us from the state of Sin in Nevada. Ninja, what the hell's going on, buddy?
Straight and live from Ninja Land. This world is mine for the taking. Thank you for having me on the MMA podcast. We've got a hell of a lot of stuff to cover tonight. It's an honor, as always, to be on with all of you. Thank you, and I hope you guys enjoy the show.
Hell yeah, and again, if you want to join the conversation live, it's 213-457-3380. Patrolling the mean streets of Westland. On Twitter, he is Westland Eagle AH, but he's patrolling the mean streets of Baton Rouge, and he is one of the most knowledgeable MMA fans I've ever come across. What the hell is going on, Alan? And I need to stop introducing people saying what the hell's going on, because I think I said that for all of you. Alan, what's up, buddy?
What the hell is going on, bro? It's awesome to be here with you guys tonight. Just glad to, take a break from work and take a break from training and be able to, hang out and talk some MMA because, that's what gets me going.
Yeah, and we got a lot of MMA to break down. And last but not least, honestly, I've got to save him for last every time because no one can follow him. He is the most infamous man on the MMA podcast, the host of the Word on the Street podcast. Ramses, my man, how are you doing?
I'm good, Jake, from the MMA podcast. Listen, people, here's the bottom line. Only two people on this earth and in the history of all time have possessed a black belt in thug jitsu. Only two people. One of them is me. Guess what else I got? I got the Word on the Street. You follow me on Twitter, the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter, better known as the Word on the Street. It's guaranteed 9 times out of 10, your life's going to improve. Sometimes somebody ends up dead. That's inevitable. But that's, like I said, 9 times out of 10, you're good with me. I got the Word on the Street. I'm excited. Lots of fights going down on Saturday and Sunday. UFC and the WWE. God bless this podcast. I'm ready to do this shit. Word on the Street.
Hell yeah, and let's get the fuck into it, man. Actually, we I think have one more. We may as well make it a family affair tonight. Our boy Davey Boy calling in from Guam. It's like fucking midnight for all of us, but it's the middle of the day over there. Davey Boy, where do we follow you on Twitter, and what the hell's going on? I said it again.
Thanks for having me back. First off, thanks for having me back. You can follow me on Twitter. That's DAVEI_BOI. What is happening, Jake, from the MMA Podcast show?
Dude, I am just psyched to break down this UFC 173 card because it was goddamn bananas.
Yes.
Yeah. We will eventually get to Dillashaw Barao, but let's start with the prelims. And Davey, if you could mute up for me. The prelims on Fight Pass and Fox Sports 1. Fight Pass, we saw 3 decisions. Li Jingliang defeating David Mashad via split decision. Sam Cecilia over Aaron Phillips via unanimous decision. And Vince Pichel over Anthony Njokuani in an upset unanimous decision. The Fox Sports 1 prelim card, we saw another upset. Mitch Clark, after being pretty dominated the first round by Al Iaquinta, getting the technical sub, choking out Al Iaquinta until he was unconscious 1 minute into the second round. At bantamweight, Chris Holdsworth defeating Chico Camus via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. The tough champion getting his second win in the UFC. Tony Ferguson TKOing Katsunori Kikuno in the first round. Kikuno is a guy who has a lot of MMA experience. He's trying out this new style that, frankly, is just not working. It leaves him way, way open. Finally, Michael Chiesa over Francisco Trinaldo via unanimous decision, 30-26, 30-26, 30-27. Chiesa dominating that fight. Of these 7, what do you got to say? Yeah, I'm sort of embracing the word on the street style of just chiming in whenever you want to chime in. But what did you think of these 7 fights?
Is this me?
Anyone? Yeah, shoot first. Yeah, the prelims. What did you think? Chiesa, Ferguson, Holdsworth, Clark. What did you think of those fights?
Oh shoot, man. Well, the first, Mitch Clark, that one stood out to me. I actually I was shocked at that fight, and then just to see Mitch Clark pull a Tebow at the end when he after he sunk in that Darcy choke, and Aquinta went to sleep. That was unreal right there. Out of all those fights, that's the one that stood out to me.
10-4. I think Ross dropped off the call, but yeah. Personally, I'll add my 2 cents in here while I try and what the hell. Alan and Ross both dropped off. We'll try and add them both. Ramses, are you with us? Ramses, you there? Ross?
Alan's back.
Alan's back. Ross, are you back? Hey David, I'm gonna go ahead and drop you. Maybe if you can call me back on Skype, but it seems like your number is sort of shaking up the call a little bit. All right. All right. The whole call apparently is fucked, so I'm just gonna end it and try and call everyone back. I'll do a here. I'll call everyone back here. I'll edit out the silence and post. Sorry for anyone listening live. This is sort of a technical difficulty we're going through here. Ramses, are you with us?
By God, yeah, man.
By
you were broken in
God.
half.
By God, the podcast is broken in half.
Hello?
Yep, I said they killed him, man. I said, by God, they killed him.
Davy boy,
Fuck happened?
Davy Boy called in from Guam on a number, and it pretty much tore the call into shreds. If Davy can call us on Skype, that would be the ideal option.
He likes to talk, doesn't he? Because he immediately jumped in first.
Yeah.
Me and him are gonna fight.
A cell phone in Guam just completely cracked this shit apart. But you know what, people? We're back. God damn it. I already broke down the 7 fights. What? Ross? What? Ramses? What? Ninja? What? Alan? What? Breakdown UFC 173. What? The 7 preliminary
this is a
fights.
disaster.
What? The first 3 on Fight Pass. What? The second 4 on Fox Sports 1. What?
What?
Go ahead, Ross.
All right. You want me to talk? I'll talk. Yeah, the prelims, I mean, obviously I'm gonna just start off by addressing the 800-pound gorilla in the room. If that's how much the gorilla, I don't know how much it weighs. Or the elephant in the room, I guess it is. Al was dominating. Al looked incredible. Al looked really good. His boxing was on point, his wrestling was on point, and his defensive jiu-jitsu game was on point. He was able to just completely burst out of every single thing that Mitch Clark tried to throw at him. He tried to wrap him in triangles. He tried to get him in arm bars, and he just shook everything off and landed very, very, very hard shots. He had him hurt early. He was looking good. He made one major mistake. He made one little major mistake against the cage.
What happened, man? He looked like a white
Can
belt.
I speak? God damn.
Nah, Jake said it was open
shut
mic.
the fuck up and let me
Open
speak.
mic.
Jake's
Open
podcast.
mic.
No, Ramses, I will talk over you then because I am speaking and I will not be interrupted. You understand me?
All right,
Okay.
go ahead. All right, white belt.
Al
go ahead.
Iaquinta went for something called the Von Flue choke, which is a counter. Basically, it's the same thing, because I don't want to get into detail. It's the same thing that, if you remember, Ovince St. Preux got on Nikita Krylov. Well, he went for that, but Mitch Clark was able to actually sneak his arm underneath Al's neck and sink in a darce. It's a very sneaky move, and if you're not careful, you won't see it coming. And he didn't see it coming. He got caught, and he got put to sleep. There was no way out. It was the only way that Mitch Clark would have gotten out of that position and beaten Al. It was literally the only capitalizing on the opportunity. As far as the rest of the prelims go, because I was still in the middle of breaking down everything else, Vince Pichel really surprised me. I thought Anthony Njokuani was going to be able to outstrike him. Vince Pichel has not shown a great defense in the past. He's not the best fighter in the world. He doesn't have the best offensive game. He doesn't have the best defensive game. He's just kind of there. And against Anthony Njokuani, you want to have a really good defense because he's coming at you with very unorthodox striking attacks. And Vince Pichel just absolutely neutralized that, took him down, destroyed him.
He's from hell.
And Chris Holdsworth, another product of Team Alpha Male, he's coming up the ranks. That's a big win over Chico Camus, who's actually, I wouldn't say top 15, but he's top 20 in the UFC's bantamweight division. So that moves Holdsworth up the ladder. And Tony Ferguson. Chiesa looked good, but the dude gets rocked in every single fight, so I still am not sold on him. Tony Ferguson, though, he's phenomenal. He's a great boxer. He's a great wrestler. Ask Chael Sonnen about him. He'll tout him up big time for you. He's down there at Reign training with all those great guys. Ellenberger, Chael, Munoz, Uriah Hall.
Now Michael Bisping.
Michael Bisping's over there now. There's so many people over there. So thank you, Jake, of course. Cunt.
He's just helping.
I will walk off this podcast right now.
You know what, Ross? I do have something to say. Assuming you were finished, Ross, I don't know. It was becoming a 3-hour movie. The Ally Aquinta, this guy, man, Ross. I'm not kidding. I bet him on your recommendation. I believed in you. I believed your bullshit, and you cost me. You owe me $17.50, and I'm coming for my fucking money. All right, this white belt. It looked like he was taking. It looked like, honestly, it looked like he was taking a dive, dude. That's how like unbelievable his mistake was. What? And I don't know. Is he cut from the UFC, or did they at least kick him out of the gym? What's going on?
It's a fugazi.
That's all I have to say. That's the most disappointing fight on the prelims for me. But Holdsworth made up for it. At least I got a little bit of scratch back on that one. But yeah, Ross the Jew, not so intelligent on this call. I lost a lot of money here, serious cash, and I'm coming for that fucking money. That's the word on the street.
He don't give a fuck.
God damn. Alan Ninja, any thoughts before we move on to the main card?
Oh, go ahead and go. I just want to throw a shout out to my boy, Aaron Phillips. Came up short, looked really good in his first round against Sam Cecilia, but second 2 rounds, Sam was able to get top position and, pretty much control the fight. Aaron just, in there with a much more experienced guy. Sam's been in there with some, top names like Cole Miller, some pretty veteran guys. And Aaron's only 8 fights. That was his 9th fight, his first time ever losing. And we all know that, after a fighter suffers that first defeat, they generally come back 10 times better. So, just want to give a shout out to him. He's a Louisiana boy. He's about 45 minutes away from where I live. And it's nice seeing, more Louisiana guys, step up to the main roster and end up in the UFC. And the other fight that stood out to me was the Michael Chiesa and Trinaldo fight. I love Michael Chiesa. I've been watching him since The Ultimate Fighter. His story intrigued me with his, father dying and everything that has happened on the show. Really, really heart-wrenching. And to see him, persevere and, come back, he had that setback against Masvidal to where, he almost won in the first round, but ended up getting choked out. But, I didn't give him any chance in this fight against Trinaldo. I thought Trinaldo was going to be just tougher, stronger, better in the transitions. And Michael Chiesa, he pulled it out. He came out and he dominated that fight, man. And that was really surprising. I mean, I know he got hurt a couple of times, but, coming back from adversity, that that really proves a whole lot when a guy can get hurt, each and every fight that he goes out there and come back and still be able to perform. So that was probably my most interesting fight that I saw in the prelims.
Saving the best for last. What do you think, Gracie Ninja? Anything stand out on the prelims?
Of course. The Alec Iaquinta match was really surprising for me. It was kind of sad to see Al do so well and then like Ross said, get caught. And that's basically what that was. I had my Gracie instructor, my Gracie black belt, sitting right next to me this whole time. I watched all these fights, so he was kind of breaking stuff down for me, and he was telling me, exactly what was going on, exactly what Al Iaquinta did. Obviously, he didn't do what he needed to do to stop that choke. I expected a lot more out of him. I think he's a great fighter as well. Look forward to seeing him again in the future. But what really impressed me, and I know it's been said before, the Michael Chiesa fight. I watched that season of The Ultimate Fighter as well, and I don't know why. I just do not like this guy. He rubbed me the wrong way on the episode. That's going to be a good drop later. For Jake from the MMA podcast to isolate that drop and play it a million times that somebody rubbed me the wrong way. But Michael Chiesa, wow! As much as I don't like him, man, I wish I could, because he came out just he annihilated his opponent, which we're starting to. I'm almost starting to expect that from him now. Pure domination is his game plan, and I don't know how he got so good so fast, but I think he's really one to watch. As much as I don't like him personally, obviously, I don't know him personally, but from what I saw on the show and my impression of him, but I think he's definitely one to watch, and everybody better keep their eye on that guy.
Hell yeah, and Ninja, I don't know what you're talking about. I would never isolate a sound drop of you saying something and then play it back completely out of context.
And I'll be the first to tell you that I'm not against hitting women.
That's just something I would never do because I'm not a bad person.
You've been taught as kids, as men, we don't hit women. Well, that's bullcrap.
Hell yeah. Moving on to the main card.
It is bullcrap.
I want to talk about the first three fights on the main card. All of them really stood out. You had James Krause fighting Jamie Varner, and if you've ever had an ankle or a foot injury, you were cringing watching this. Early in the fight, Varner broke his leg. It looked like he broke his ankle. He's literally hobbling around. Still, for someone on one wheel, still looked amazing, but Krause won via TKO when the doctor stopped it after the first round. Takeya Mizugaki, an absolute beatdown of Francisco Rivera, pretty much dominating the entire fight, and Robbie Lawler over Jake Ellenberger. This fight, whoa, just got very loud. If you can mute up, Davey. Thank you very much.
My bad.
Yo, actually, now that we've got you back on, what stood out on the prelims for 173 for you? Wins by Chiesa, Holdsworth, Ferguson, Vince Pichel, Mitch Clark. What did you think of those fights?
The Holdsworth fight, that was an awesome fight. The fight that stood out to me was the Mitch Clark fight when he sunk in that Darce choke on Iaquinta, and he refused to tap, and you just see Iaquinta's eyes roll back, and then afterwards, like I said, with Mitch Clark just pulling a Tebow, that was funny. And then Tony Ferguson's fight was one-sided, just the way that he just like outclassed that the fighter, I forgot his name. I can't say it at the top of my head, but the way he just outclassed him was just. I was shocked. And then Chiesta's fight, that was an awesome fight too. I would actually like to see Chiesta and Ferguson fight. I think that would be a good ass fight too.
Fuck yeah, and we will move right along to the main card. Like I mentioned, Krause, Mizugaki, and Lawler all winning. We'll break down the co-main and main event on their own. But what did you all think of these three fights? I sort of broke them down myself. Krause sort of got lucky there because Varner doing what he did on one wheel, most people watching that would assume that if he had two working ankles that he would have had a big advantage there. Mizugaki looking amazing. He actually may end up fighting Renan Barão next, one of the highest ranked bantamweights who has yet to fight Renan. And at welterweight, Robbie Lawler just putting it on Jake Ellenberger, who can never really seem to get over that hump of getting to a title shot. What stood out to you, motherfuckers?
Well, first off, the first fight, it sucks that it had to end the way it did because I think Jamie Varner would have destroyed James Krause if these two actually engaged in a full 3-round fight, or what would be scheduled for 3 rounds. I think Jamie Varner would have eventually knocked out James Krause. He showed his toughness fighting for 4 minutes on a broken foot, which is pretty incredible. I mean, it was hard to watch. I was cringing during a lot of that because you saw his ankle just bend and twist and turn, and it was just nasty. James Krause caused it, though. I mean, he threw a kick right when Jamie Varner was lifting his leg up, and he just caught him right at the ankle, and he broke his foot right there. It was pretty incredible. Takei Mizugaki and Cisco Rivera. I was picking Cisco Rivera in this. I thought he was gonna knock out Takei Mizugaki. Takei Mizugaki is very underrated, and I guess I was underrating him a little too much as well. His 5th straight win. Albeit 5 straight decision wins, but he's a guy you can't count out. He even dropped Francisco Rivera, had him hurt, almost finished him with strikes in the first round, which is pretty incredible. He's a very well-rounded guy, and he's really tuning up his game. He's one of these guys that's always been floating in the middle of the bantamweight division. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one, and finally he's just gone on a streak, and he's on a roll. I want to see him fight Renan Barão next, but apparently Dominic Cruz is going to be ready to fight in 2 to 4 months, so he says. He's back to sparring, and he wants to fight Takei Mizugaki.
What a coincidence.
Expressing interest in that fight. So, yeah.
Side note, Mizugaki's 9 victories in the UFC and WEC bantamweight division are tied with Renan Barão and Dominic Cruz for the second most in divisional history, behind a guy who has 10 wins. Can anyone name the guy who has 10 wins at bantamweight?
Uriah Faber.
Nope.
Chael Sonnen.
Miguel Torres.
Nope. Scott Jorgensen, actually, this is the Zuffa leader in bantamweight wins with 10. Yeah,
I was gonna say Conor McGregor.
But Jorgensen, probably won't be notching many of those up if he keeps fighting at flyweight. So Cruz, Barão, and Mizugaki going to be gunning for that record. Anyone else thoughts on those 3 fights? Lawler, Ellenberger. That sort of went exactly the way everyone thought it was going to go.
Yeah, I'm actually watching the Lawler-Ellenberger fight again, and just to see how dynamic, Lawler looks, man, against a, explosive striker like, Ellenberger. He was able to just pretty much put Ellenberger, in cement, Ellenberger didn't know when to strike. Lawler's timing was brilliant. The head kicks. I mean, he's just dangerous, man. His defense is superb. And I think if he gets a chance to fight Johnny Hendricks again after the Matt Brown fight, that I think he'll win. I definitely think that he'll pull it out and he'll win this time. I think that I, I think he knows what he needs to do this time instead of just, stand and trade in the middle of the octagon. I think, he looked even more pumped up and more hungry at 173 than he did in Dallas. So I'm super excited for that. And then, shout out to, fucking Japan, man. Not many of those guys can come out and trade with the UFC guys. That, they normally don't stand the test. But Takaya Mizugaki, man, he's come out and he's just tough as fucking nails. Normally, like, the one thing that you see from Japanese fighters is they can't take a shot, and Mizugaki can not only take a shot, but he can land them. So to see him come out there and just dominate a guy that is a very well-rounded fighter and is very dangerous. I mean, Francisco Rivera has knocked out like almost every single one of his wins. He's just it's crazy. So. For Mizugaki to get that win, especially on a pay-per-view on the main card, it really does well for him, and he'll probably get a really prominent casting in the return to Japan in September. I see him being maybe like the third to last fight on the card, maybe a co-headliner.
Robbie Lawler coming back from that loss to Johnny Hendricks, when he went in that fight against Jake Ellenberger, actually before he went in that fight against Jake Ellenberger, Jake actually was, he had like a lot of confidence going in that fight that it was going to be, they're going to be trading shots and stuff. But Robbie just came in there like a demon and just put him on, just basically just pulled his card. Jake had no answer for him after the first round, in my opinion, and then he goes into, I think, the third, and like he literally has no answer for him. Like Robbie just kept overwhelming him with shots and just his aggression, and it just shows the fact that like Robbie learned from what his mistakes were in this fight against Johnny, and now I think he should get out the shot against Johnny Hendricks first off, but at the same time though. Him fighting against Matt Brown on this next card, that's gonna be an awesome fight right there to show like whose two wills are gonna break. Going back to the first fight, Jamie Varner against James Krause. I had Varner winning that fight, but you just seen the balls on Jamie Varner to where he was like, yeah, my legs broke, but I'm still gonna fight. So I mean, hats off to Jamie Varner on that one. I mean, that's a moral victory, for Jamie Varner on that note.
My God.
Any other hot takes before we move on to the co-main?
Yeah, I would like to add the Jamie Varner fight. Chael Sonnen did watch this fight, and he called bullshit on Jamie Varner's flopping ankle. He has since, retracted and whatnot. But I got the same vibe myself, man. I think Jamie Varner, maybe he did screw up his ankle. Pardon me. Maybe that did happen. But this guy's always looking for a way out. You can see it all over his face. And I think that's what Chael was really getting at. Yeah, because he is the boy who cried wolf, except this time there was a goddamn wolf eating him.
What an insane thing to say to an incredible just show of heart and gut.
How dare you, Ramsey?
Yeah, Ramsey's keeping the crazy bar very high on the MMA podcast. I guess.
Also,
yeah.
Jake, Chael did just tweet out, and he called Jamie and apologized to him for making those comments, and they've made up.
Yeah, actually, Chael just retweeted Jamie Varner saying respect to Sonnen. Respect to Sonnen CH, which is Chael's Twitter handle, for admitting he was wrong. I appreciate the call and text. We all have said stupid things in the heat of the moment. Ramsey's, it's all right. We all say stupid things in the heat of the moment. Let's move on.
I wouldn't have quit. I wouldn't have tapped. I would have kept fighting. That's all I got to say. I don't know about you,
Jamie. I'm pretty sure Jamie wanted to keep fighting, and the doctor didn't let him.
Yeah, the doctor. Yeah.
All right, moving on to
Jamie was saying, "I'm done. I can't fight anymore." Once the second the round ended, he was on his butt and he was pointing to his ankle.
Yeah, Ninja.
I gotta bring up a point that nobody's touched on. First of all, before I do that, shout out to Ruthless Robbie Lawler on a great performance. I love that guy. He's always entertaining. But the the point I got to bring up is I'm very disappointed in the Jamie Varner fight from the medical aspect. I've been an EMT for a very long time. I have a very extensive medical background, and somebody's job, the referees, I'm assuming, somebody is there to protect the fighters, and when you have an obvious critical injury like that broken foot, I'm going through 2 rib fractures, 2 snapped ribs at the moment, and I'm one big twist or turn or slip or fall away from either those ribs going through my chest cavity, or they're going to offset and they have to cut me open and reset them. Breaks are very, very bad things, people. Especially in the foot, because you've got a lot of nerves, you got a lot of stuffs in the ankle right there. And the fact that, after the first time that ankle folded over and he fell down, that ref's got to stop that. Number one, this is a combat sport. Yes, we're trying to compete. We're trying to get victories. We're trying to show that we're good fighters. But number one above all is we have to protect the fighters. And this was absolutely ridiculous that he was allowed to go because, and I'm running through it right now. I'm still in my gi pants. No, I didn't roll today, but it is so hard not to be out there and compete. So I can understand where Jamie Varner's going to come from. I'm kind of the same way. My arm could be dangling from my body, and I'm still going to try to choke people out with it. And he's a man. Yeah, he's got a lot of heart, but somebody's got to step in and think of the best interest about the fighter.
True. Fucking well put, Ninja. And I guess without any further ado, let's get to the co-main event. Daniel Cormier and Dan Henderson facing off in a fight that Dana was saying the winner would get the winner of what we should see in August, Jones versus Gustafsson 2. That should be in Vegas, I believe. But Cormier defeats Hendo via 3rd round rear naked choke. Actually choked Dan out until he passed out. Before we break down the fight, I actually like adding in a little media. This is from the UFC's YouTube page. Definitely check them out, youtube.com/UFC. They're always posting a ton of content. They have 3,154 videos to check out, always releasing a ton of fresh stuff during every event. The UFC Embedded series was a lot of fun. Definitely, they're probably my favorite channel on the YouTubes. But let's listen to Daniel Cormier and Dan Henderson talking about the fight. Cormier reflects on his win and expresses his desire for a title shot, while Dan Henderson assures fans this isn't the last they'll see of him.
I am here with winner Daniel Cormier. Dan, really a spectacular performance.
1 second. John Jones, you can't run away from me forever. I'm the kid at the wrestling tournament that is always in your bracket. No matter where you go, boy, I'm coming. You better hurry because I'm getting better.
And you are getting better, sir. Amazing performance tonight against a true legend in Dan Henderson. Did anything surprise you about this fight?
No, it was just, I know nobody can wrestle me, so it doesn't matter. If I decide to take John Jones down 100 times, I'll take him down 100 times. This is my octagon, I'm the man.
I don't think we should say anything more. I think what you did tonight was a masterful performance, and I can't wait to see you fight for the title.
Thank you so much.
Daniel Cormier, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'm here with one of the toughest human beings that's ever walked the face of the planet, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Henderson, you have had such a long career, and I've been very fortunate to be there from the beginning, your very first Octagon fight. Give me your thoughts on this fight tonight and what this means to you.
He's a heavy guy and got on top of me and just worn it out a little bit. And, I don't know, I'm just disappointed in my performance. So I apologize to all you fans, and I really appreciate your support.
You got nothing but love from this crowd here tonight, Dan. You fought your career at 185 and at 205. Do you think if you continue, you'll compete as a middleweight?
Possibly. I mean, I weighed in at 199 for this fight, which is smaller than most middleweights. But, you know, I've never really noticed that big of a difference till, you know, tonight he was just heavy on top. Maybe I shouldn't have given that chicken.
Well, and even in the end, you still refuse to tap and go out. What do you do now? Do you go and think about the future? Do you have a plan set in your mind?
You know, my plan was to beat DC tonight, so just gonna have to figure it out, move forward, and I'm not done yet. I'm still gonna compete. You know, I love the sport, and I absolutely love the support you guys give me, and I will continue to do it until I can.
It's been an honor to call your fights. You're one of the greatest of all time. And thank you very much for another amazing display of heart and courage. Dan Henderson, ladies and gentlemen.
And there was Cormier and Hendo talking about their fight that Cormier just dominated pillar to post, would have won a very, very one-sided decision if he hadn't have choked him out with that RNC with 1:07 left to go in the fight. What did you think of it? Cormier might be taking a little time off to have his knee scoped, which might, I don't know if that's a strategy to sort of wait around for the winner of Jones-Gustafsson, because unless that thing goes to a draw, Cormier's probably going to get a title shot at that 205-pound belt late 2014, early 2015 at the latest. Thoughts on Cormier, Hendo, and thoughts about, you know, the future for both guys. It's really sort of crazy the contrast in both guys' futures looking forward. You know, Cormier hasn't lost ever, probably will get a title shot next. A lot of people think he's got the right set of skills to beat John Jones, while Dan is 1-4 in his last 5. You know, things are not looking good. Thoughts, and what do you think looking forward for both guys?
Well, Daniel Cormier is the best fighter in mixed martial arts not holding a championship belt right now. He went out there against a former world champion, a Hall of Famer, a legend, someone who's still ranked top 10 in everybody's ranking, Dan Henderson, and he destroyed him. He dominated him worse than most people. I mean, no one does that. And then to top it all off, with just a little bit remaining in the fight in the third round, puts him to sleep, and that's that. Daniel Cormier deserves a title shot. He can sit and wait if he wants. Just wait for the winner of Gustafsson and Jones. That's what he will do. And whoever walks out of that champion is going to have a very, very difficult time getting past Daniel Cormier, who very well may be the best light heavyweight in the world. Dan Henderson, on the other hand, this was not a surprising result. Dan Henderson is old. Dan Henderson is past his prime. Dan Henderson has shown that the mixed martial arts game is passing him. He looked horrible against Shogun, caught a miracle right hand to put Shogun out. Yes, he still has his power. Yes, he's still in it because he's got that one punch. But the elite of the elite are going to run circles around him. He came in really light, which was very good. It did show that maybe he's taking it a little more seriously. I don't think it really matters because he's still 43 years old, 42 years old. So I think dropping to 185, if that's what he intends to do, might help him a little bit. But I don't think we're ever going to see Dan Henderson at the top level anymore. And I think it's only a matter of time, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 1. It's only a matter of time before we see the end of Dan Henderson's fight career.
Just a caveat to what you said, Bill, on that one, man. Like, you make an excellent point about Dan Henderson. I mean,
I mean, like when he weighed in, like being at 199, I mean, he could drop. It sounds like to me he could drop to 185. But I mean, when that fight was called, that was like Cormier and Dan Henderson. Actually, the first thing I thought about was like, oh, that's cool. 173, Henderson's gonna fight after he fought like 2 shows ago, and he's getting off TRT. Like, where's Vitor at in that one? Just want to throw that out there. But Cormier destroyed Dan Henderson in that fight. Cormier was the Hulk, just pretty much flinging Dan Henderson around like he was Loki from the Avengers, just basically just taking his feet up from under him and just tossing him around. But as regards to Dan Henderson, I don't want to say it's because he's older or anything like that, in a sense. I mean, yeah, age does play a factor and stuff, but I mean, he has the heart of a fighter, and he's going to do anything that he can to, to be relevant. I guess relevant enough to to fight. And I think for his sake, he should drop down to 185 and just try to take it from there and see how the powers that be in the UFC can play him if he has a string of wins at middleweight from there. As for Cormier, yeah, that fight with John Jones is going to happen, but if John Jones loses to Gustafsson, there will not be a title shot for Cormier if Gustafsson wins. Like, it will be an immediate rematch, so it could be 2014, 2015 on that one.
As God is my witness, I thought Dan Henderson was dead at one point during this fight. It was one of the saddest matches I've ever seen. He got thrown around like a swimming pool toy. It was embarrassing, people, and I don't even know why. I mean, we listened to the clip where Hendo was talking post fight with Rogan, and he just kept repeating himself numerous times, stating that the reason he lost was because essentially Daniel Cormier was so fat. He used the word heavy, but he was saying he lost because Daniel Cormier is fat. And you know what? I believe him, but at the same time, Dan Hendo's got to go. It's all over for him. He should quit now before they feed him to the wolves again, and he just gets horribly knocked out. And before you know it, his hot model girlfriend, guess what? She's with some other. She's dating the personal trainer, and Hendo's left with nothing. Not even the teeth in his head. Word on the street.
Hell yeah.
Well, if you knew anything, you'd know that Dan Henderson has fake teeth. But I definitely don't think Dan Henderson
George Washington.
Yeah, except they're not wooden. But I don't think Dan Henderson should retire. If the dude doesn't want to retire, don't make him. I do think that he needs to step back and reassess where he belongs and, where he needs to fight at and who he needs to be fighting. I mean, the dude, seriously could make 170 pounds, but he needs to be fighting at 185, and he doesn't need to be fighting top-level competition. He needs to be in there for those marquee matchups to, you can throw him there to where he can fight guys like Shogun and, Wanderlei, people that have names. Don't throw him in there against a young contender unless it's somebody that you're building and, you want to, test them out. But, it was a pretty dominant performance by Cormier. Cormier looked really good, but I think DC needs to work on his finishing because, there were times during that fight where he could easily finish the fight, and he just, didn't have the fight IQ to actually do it. But, yeah, it was pretty cut and dry. Nothing surprising with that fight.
Cormier, the Louisianimal. Yeah, I forget where I heard it, whether it was Rogan or Schaub. I was listening to a podcast, I think, but they were talking about Cormier's submission offense, saying yeah, I was talking to Cain Velasquez, his training partner and good friend, and asked Cain how Cormier's submission offense was, and Cain said, it's all right. He has a decent arm lock, so yeah, he's got to work on that, especially if he's going up a versus a guy like Jones, who is just a master of jits. We also have a tweet from our boy, Mystery Deja. Follow him on Twitter. He says, Hendo should drop to 185 and fight Bisping again. I think our boy Mystery just wants to see Bisping get KO'd once again. I don't know about that fucking eye. We saved the best for last. Ninja, what did you think of DC just crushing Dan Hendo Henderson?
I just gotta speak about Hendo. I'll save what I think about DC in the fight for another time, a little bit later probably. I just want to speak and give props to Dan Henderson, one of the toughest sons of bitches in the UFC, in MMA in general. Dan Henderson is a legend. I think it's no secret Dan Henderson knows where he belongs in the UFC. I agree with everybody on here. Dan, and I think Dan's smart enough to know that he's never going to be at the top again. He's never going to fight those marquee fights, never fight for any titles, but I think he's okay with that because Dan Henderson to me seems like the guy that the only guy that is literally going to be in that ring until, like he said, he can't be in there anymore, and you're going to have to scoop him up with a freaking wheelbarrow and take his ass out of the ring. Dan Henderson loves the fans. Such a great person, such a great guy, such a workhorse, and he's gonna leave it all in there. He's not gonna quit. If Dan Henderson stops fighting in the UFC, it's not because Dan Henderson wants to stop fighting in the UFC. He'll go down to 185. I have no doubt about that. Dan Henderson, like I said, he's still got some good fights. He'll play more of a Hulk Hogan role. Sorry to use the WWE reference there. Just basically selling fights because of his name. And 50-year-old Dan Henderson could still sell me a fight just because of that. Just because of the H-bomb. I mean, and it kind of sucks for Hendo because everybody's figured him out. Everybody knows. I'll get into it. The little bit of the fight here. Daniel Cormier not once stepped towards that right hand of Dan Henderson. I watched that very closely, and I think that's what everybody else is going to do. Nobody's going to step even anywhere near that H-bomb. And that kind of happened to Chuck Liddell. Chuck used to fight with his hand down at his hips a lot. And as soon as people figured out that that's his go-to thing, that's what wins him fights, they kind of figure it out. Bottom line is Dan Henderson has many years left. I think he's got a few, a couple of big fights to come, I'm sure. But it's just going to be all nostalgic. And just because it's Dan Henderson. Shout out to Dan Henderson. I love you, buddy. Great work. I can't wait to see you fight again.
Yeah, you talking about it actually makes me think, we're all sort of talking about what we think Dan's relationship with the UFC will be going forward. We had that period from 2009 to 2011 where Dan went to Strikeforce, and part of me wonders if Dan had stayed in the UFC, if that was his window to win a UFC championship, because for all intents and purposes, it looks like Dan, is not going to ever be a UFC champion. He was a Pride champion, won a UFC tournament, won the UFC middleweight tournament, didn't win a belt. Also was a Strikeforce champion when he beat Rafael Cavalcante, beat Fedor in Strikeforce. He was on top of his game in Strikeforce. Jones didn't get the belt until 2011. Dan left the UFC in 2009, rejoined in 2011. Part of me sort of thinks, because that was that period where it seemed like the 205 belt was being passed from fighter to fighter to fighter. I sort of wonder if Dan had stayed in the UFC and not gone off to Strikeforce, if he would have, if that would have been his window to be a UFC champion. Let's move on to the main event we all want to break down. I'm going to let Ross break it down first, because literally, if you listen to last week's show, the end of it, Ross fucking pretty much to a T said what was going to happen, but sort of like the last one, I want to play the post-fight comments first. Once again, youtube.com/user/UFC. Subscribe. They got all the hot videos. Let's listen to Joe talk to the new bantamweight champion and the former bantamweight champion inside the octagon right after their fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Herb Dean has called a stop to this contest at 2 minutes, 26 seconds of round number 5. Declaring the winner by TKO, and now the new undisputed UFC bantamweight champion of the world, TJ Dillashaw.
That was the greatest performance I've ever seen in my life.
Thank you so much.
What does that mean to you when you hear the new bantamweight champion of the world, TJ Dillashaw? What is going through your mind right now?
Oh man, I've dreamed it for so long, and it's unbelievable, man. It's the greatest feeling in the world, and all you have to do is believe, baby. Believe you're the best in the world, and you'll get here.
TJ, leading up to this fight, one of the things that we had said was this was about you reaching your full potential and you rising to the occasion. You surpassed all expectations tonight in this performance. I mean, this was it was stunning. Was this surprising to you?
Yeah, I mean, Brow's the best in the world in my eyes, you know what I mean? Like, I've been looking up to the guy. I felt respect to getting in the cage against him, you know? He's the best in the world, and that's what brought it out of me, you know? It's what brought the best out of me, is because I knew I was fighting the best. I had to bring my A game to be the champion of the world, and it happened, baby! Calvers County, Angels Camp, Sacramento, I love you guys!
No one can change this. I mean, this is in the books forever. And I want you to look up at the screen and enjoy this, because this was incredible. Here's the first round. This was where you caught him with this beautiful overhand right. His eyes rolled back in his head. He went down. What were you thinking at that moment?
I'm thinking my bang Muay Thai is tight. A little one body landed right on the button, baby. And, I owe it to my team. I owe it to my coach. It looked beautiful.
TJ, this is one of the finest performances I've ever seen, and the best performance, I'll say right now. This is the most spectacular performance I've ever seen against a guy in Barao who is easily one of the best pound-for-pound fighters on the planet. Congratulations on just a masterful work tonight.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here with you. Man, I've looked up to you for a while too, and thank you so much, everyone. I love all my fans. I love all you guys. This is why I do it. Let's get loud. Come on.
It was an honor calling this fight. Thank you very much, brother. TJ Dillashaw, ladies and gentlemen, the bantamweight champion of the world.
What a moment. And his brother Casey in the background too, putting a strap on. Congratulations, TJ Dillashaw. Uriah Faber, the mentor, and TJ Dillashaw will bring the UFC bantamweight belt to Sacramento, California, and Team Alpha Male. Back to Joe.
I'm here with Renan Barao. Renan, a very difficult fight. Give us your thoughts on the fight and what, if anything, was surprising to you.
Foi uma luta muito dura. Fala o que você achou, se teve alguma coisa que te surpreendeu na luta.
Não, foi dura mesmo. Tá de parabéns, Dillashaw. Hoje foi o dia dele. Mas eu vou voltar, pode anotar.
It was really a tough fight. I have to congratulate him. Tonight was his night, but I'm coming back.
What did you expect from TJ Dillashaw, and what was your game plan going into this fight tonight?
O que você esperava dele e qual era a sua estratégia hoje?
A estratégia é sempre fazer o meu jogo, né? O que eu faço melhor é trocar em pé e defender bastante as quedas ali. Mas hoje foi o dia dele, então Deus sabe todas as coisas, então tudo certo. E vou recuperar o que é meu.
My strategy was to go in there and do what I do, but God knows what he does best, and I'm going to come back.
Renan Barão, you're still one of the finest fighters on the planet, one of the best, pound for pound. It's always an honor watching you fight, and I can't wait to see you fight again.
É sempre um prazer te ver lutar, você é um dos melhores, ele quer ver você lutar novamente.
We look forward to seeing you return. Thank you very much. Renan Barão, ladies and gentlemen.
And there we have it, a new bantamweight champion. I would break the fight down, but I'm going to pass it right to Ross. Ross, what happened on Saturday night?
What happened on Saturday night was called Beautiful Destruction. Going into this fight, I told everyone who would listen that TJ Dillashaw could very well beat Renan Barão. TJ Dillashaw is very gifted, very skilled, one of the best fighters in the world, and it would not be surprising if he came in and beat Renan Barão. The big thing that stood out to me was TJ Dillashaw's rate of improvement and how quick this guy is to go back and fix mistakes and learn new things, especially since he teamed up with Dwayne Bang Ludwig. He has been phenomenal, an absolute phenom. That's the only way to really describe him. Just a phenom. John Jones-esque, Chris Weidman-esque, just phenomenal. I said that if TJ Dillashaw came into this fight with the same amount of improvement that he did in between the Asuncao and Easton fights, he would beat Renan Barão. Not only did he come in with just as much improvement as he did in between those two fights, he exceeded my expectations, and he went above and beyond. TJ Dillashaw on Saturday night had the single greatest performance in mixed martial arts history. I mean, it was textbook. It was perfect. There was nothing wrong with it. He fought a perfect fight. Renan Barão is a fantastic fighter, and he was pound for pound one of the best in the world for a reason, because no one was able to really solve the puzzle. But when you break Renan Barão down, there are holes in his game. He's a very, 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 very well-rounded fighter, but he also is a brawler. When he gets into exchanges, once he gets past that jab, and he's got a very good jab, but once he gets past that jab, it's wild swings. He will swing wildly, and he'll leave his chin up, and TJ Dillashaw utilized angles, footwork, speed, and timing to counteract that. And he knew exactly when to strike. He cut angles. He changed directions. I mean, there was one moment in the fight where Barão threw the jab and tried to come over with the overhand right, and very sloppy. I mean, he swung the overhand. Dillashaw ducks under it, immediately switches stances, goes from orthodox to southpaw, so he doesn't have to switch his legs, so he can just immediately plant on his right foot. He's just able to turn around and switch direction and back Barão against the fence and hit him with a combination and tag him, which was incredible. I mean, this is stuff you don't see from most fighters, because this is like the best of the best, high-level stuff. TJ Dillashaw exemplified what the evolution of a mixed martial artist is. And this is a kid who was a wrestler, and never the best wrestler. I mean, he was an NCAA Division I wrestler, but he's never a guy who placed in a major NCAA tournament. He never placed, I mean, he never won a state high school wrestling championship, yet he was meant to fight. And he's the UFC bantamweight champion now because he knew how to beat Renan Barão, and I don't think there's anybody who can beat TJ Dillashaw. I mean, I think TJ Dillashaw, with his rate of improvement and how quickly he picks up things and how smart he is and how high his fight IQ is, I think TJ Dillashaw could very well be the best fighter in the world.
Hell of a breakdown, just like last week. Yeah, definitely, if you don't believe us, go back and listen to the end of the last podcast. I think I hear Davey Boy. Davey Boy, what did you think of the main event? Holy shit.
God damn. You know, like, I almost did not get this pay-per-view because of that fight, actually, because I honestly thought Barão was going to just trounce through him. And then, like, I just kind of reminded myself, I mean, TJ Dillashaw, for some reason I was comparing TJ Dillashaw to Uriah Faber, and Dillashaw is a completely different fighter than Uriah Faber. I thought
leading up, I was gonna say, leading up to it, this, like, maybe aside from Johnson versus Moraga, this is one of the least anticipated title fights we've seen in a while, and it turned out to be a historic one.
Yeah, no, that was a holy shit card. I was fucking shocked. So, but like, I almost didn't get the card for that reason right there. But when I seen Lawler was gonna fight, he is one of my favorite fighters, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this card. And the bonus was that main event. And like, I was thinking to myself too, like, if Dillashaw could get past that first round and just do something significant to Barao, he might have this fight. And when he knocked him down and almost won that first round, the fight in that first round, I knew it was over right there. It reminded me back of the old UFC days when Jens Pulver fought Dennis Hallman, and Dennis Hallman was just going through everyone too as well, but Pulver just knocked him down with the punch in the first round, and it was over for Hallman with that fight, and it went 5 rounds. So, and the other thing too that, like, I was kind of surprised, and I'm listening to Joe Rogan talk, and this is between the 4th and 5th round. The best idea to do when you know that you're dominantly winning all those 4 rounds is to coast that 5th round just to secure the title. TJ didn't do that. TJ said, "Fuck that! I am going to finish this guy," and he sure enough did. His footwork was bar none. And that was Dominic Cruz-esque type footwork if you really think about it. His exchanges, his angles, like when to strike and stuff. And this is caveat off of Ross, but I gotta call it the same way too. He was a completely different fighter than all the other fighters that Barao fought. And the same thing too. Barao is a great fighter, but when it comes to brawling stuff, when he goes to brawling, he has some wild swings. And like, the only thing that's like, he has a cool spinning back kick and stuff like that, but that is so predictable now. But if anything though, but going back to TJ Dillashaw winning, I was fucking shocked that it just turned out the way it did. And it's so funny to me now that you hear Dana White, you hear the UFC production crew talking about Renan Barão unbeaten in the past 35 fights. Renan Barão, arguably the #1 pound for pound fighter. How are they going to market Renan Barão now when they were hyping him up so much and he got decimated by TJ Dillashaw? Other than that though, I don't know. I'm lost for words on that one.
Yeah. Really quickly, before we get any more takes, I totally forgot to give you guys tonight's stat of the day pertaining to Dillashaw Barão. Let's hit the music. Stat of the day. 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 Here comes the stat of the day. TJ Dillashaw becoming the 4th fighter to win a UFC belt after being introduced to the UFC through the Ultimate Fighter reality show, along with Forrest Griffin, Rashad Evans, and Matt Serra. Of these 4 champions, Dillashaw is the first who didn't win his season of Tough. Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day! He was a finalist, but actually lost to John Dodson in the Tough finale. Ramses, Alan, Ninja, we haven't heard from any of you. What did you think of TJ Dillashaw, your new bantamweight champion of the world?
I'm just going to throw it out there and say that we should all just remain silent and just give a round of applause to TJ Dillashaw. I don't think anything else can be said after what Ross, has said on back-to-back podcast. Brilliant performance. Enough said.
Powerful. I got a different take. I'm sorry, people.
How dare you?
I think it's obvious that something was wrong with Renan Barão in this fight. Yes, TJ Dillashaw fought his ass off. He was at the top of his game. But Renan Barão was close to rock bottom of his. It's obvious they probably, and I mean this, he was probably, as soon as he finds someone to translate for him, the truth is going to come out. He was probably, food poisoning or something like that. He was probably sick for this fight. It was obvious. Something was off. Something was wrong here. It doesn't make sense, and I refuse to accept that TJ Dillashaw will last as champion. I think he loses his next fight, hands down. That's the word. Straight
up, not taking anything away from TJ Dillashaw. Ross nailed it right on the head. He performed outstandingly. Had the performance of his life at the exact right time he needed it. But what I want to talk about is Renan Barão. Like I mentioned before, I was sitting next to my black belt instructor, Gary Great. Shout out to him and everything he's done for me. And we were both talking about it the whole time, is that, Renan Barão, kind of like what Ramses was saying, something didn't look right with Renan Barão. And the whole fight, we tried to figure out what that was. You have a world-class jiu-jitsu black belt. This is a black belt. He's a champion in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and not once does he attempt to take Dillashaw down and go for any submissions. That baffled the both of us. The fact that even after the first round, you get knocked down, which in my opinion, if the ref was looking at it more closely, that would have ended the fight right there, because he was definitely out on the way down. He gave him a chance, and I'm very grateful that he did, because it gave us more fight to watch. But after that, why wouldn't you go for what you're good at? You have to. If you're in Renan Barão's corner, you got to tell this guy, you're getting dominated, absolutely decimated standing up. Let's try something else. Isn't that what the fight game's about? Isn't that what UFC's about? Is being able to adapt to what's going on. I had mentioned it a few times during the fight. Renan Barão looked so flat-footed and threw no feints at all. Was very flat-footed. Never circled. Just forward and backward movement. No lateral movement at all. It was kind of insane. It's just not the Renan Barão that was at the top of the list for pound. It just was not the same guy. And we were wondering, I really wonder, seriously, what was going on with Renan Barão. The only thing that I could come up with, thinking about it now for the past several days, the only thing I can come up with is TJ Dillashaw hit him hard and hit him quickly, and that first punch, wherever it came, it scared Renan Barão, which is a really odd thing to say, because Renan Barão doesn't seem like the guy that's going to get scared, but I sincerely think TJ Dillashaw hit him really hard, really early in this fight, and that dictated what we saw.
Fuck yeah. Honestly, beautifully broken down by fucking everyone, but I think that does it. Before we close out our breakdown of UFC 173, though, let's listen to the highlights of the post-fight press conference, starting off with Dana White giving you the numbers on the event.
11,036 people were here tonight. We did a gate of 1.7 million. Fight of the night, Barão Dillashaw. Performance of the night, Dillashaw. The other performance of the night, Clark. Dillashaw wins $100,000, the belt. Clark gets $50,000.
TJ Dillashaw, $100,000 richer, and I think salary-wise, he only made $36K. So He like quadrupled the money he earned. He's now a champion. Let's check in with the new champion, talking about Saturday's fight.
The plan was to move my feet a lot, not stand in front of him, use my angles, switch my stances up, and just be the faster athlete tonight. And after that, it was just kind of flow. You know, I didn't want to think about what I was going to do, just do what I was drilling in camp the entire time. I let Dwayne tell me what to do, and I just kind of reacted, you know. The plan was to take him down when need be, and, you know, I just didn't feel I needed to.
I've got to just get back to work.
Let's check in with Daniel Cormier on the co-main event against Dan Henderson.
Got to just get back to work because, you know, John Jones is a great champion. He's defended that title more than anybody ever has. And if he lost, you know, he deserves a rematch, just like Anderson Silva did. Those guys have earned the right to fight for the title as many times as they want, you know. So, yeah, I would definitely fight again. I'm not saying I'm opposed to just fighting. I'm just saying that I think after 4.5 years of the sport, what I've accomplished, you know, that I think I deserve a title shot. But as Dana said, you know, we're going to talk, and if they come up with something good, I'll fight. I mean, I'm not afraid of anybody. I mean, I can beat every one of these guys, so I'll fight them all.
Dave, you got to mute up for me. Michael Chiesa was the next guy we checked in with. Got a very impressive win against Francisco Trinaldo at UFC 173, the last fight on Fox Sports 1.
Well, first of all, I fought very impatient. That's why I don't like game planning for fights. I had a game plan, and you know, obviously, I'm relying on him to do something he wasn't doing from what I saw in the film. I was expecting him to throw a lot more heat, throw a lot more punches, and I had my game plan kind of surrounding that. Everybody was talking about the body shot in the first round, and just like you said with the guillotine, that was pretty deep. But other than that, yeah, just, you know, I'm a grappling based fighter, so just had to tough it out. And you know, once you get sweaty, you can kind of pull out of those things. You don't have to be as technical. So he was a tough guy. He showed up for sure. And while I got the mic, I want to say good job, TJ.
Couple more people to check in with before we close it up, including Robbie Lawler with a win over
Yeah, I
Jake
mean, I
Ellenberger.
did a good job tonight. Got a stoppage and just put everyone on notice, and I'll definitely be in the conversation.
And it seemed like during the second round, you actually were laughing a couple of times after some takedowns. I was wondering if you could think about that moment and bring us back. I mean, what's going through your head as you're laughing in the middle of a fight?
I'm just having fun and enjoying myself out there and trying to beat people up. Basic, just having a good time and enjoying what I do for a living.
Last fighter we check in with, Chris Holdsworth, with an impressive win over Chico Camus.
It was a great experience. You know, haven't been past the second round in my career, so just to go 3 rounds versus a good competitor, it was a great opportunity for me to kind of show everyone I'm not just a 1-round wonder, and I can go all 3 rounds and be comfortable in there and show my skill set.
One thing before
Finally, Dana White with an announcement.
I wrap this thing up. UFC returns to the Cotai Arena at the Venetian, Macau on Saturday, August 23rd. The main event is Kung Lee versus Michael Bisping. And the co-main event is Hector Lombard versus Dong Young Kim. Thanks for coming, everybody. We appreciate it. What a night. Have a great weekend.
We will be breaking down Lee versus Bisping a little later on, but that does it for UFC 173. Any comments before we move on to tonight's news? We're actually already an hour 15 in, so we'll try and breeze through our previews on the upcoming events. We'll definitely.
I
go along.
do have a question. I do have a question for everybody on here. Can anybody remember? I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the first time in a very long time there is not a Brazilian champion. Is there a Brazilian champion right now?
Jose Aldo.
Jose Aldo. I forgot about him.
Jose Aldo is going to be going up against Chad Mendes in a fight that he could very well lose in August. So yeah, you know, we've had a lot of Brazilian champs: Barão, Aldo, Junior, Anderson, Shogun, Lyoto, but yeah, it's we only have one.
Seems like,
sorry?
It seems like not too long ago that, you know, we had JDS, I believe it was JDS, Lyoto, Anderson, Hennen, and I think they were all champions at the same time.
Aldo. Yeah. We've seen a very, very long lineage of Brazilian fighters. But we have a lot to talk about, including Chael Sonnen and his new fight against Vitor Belfort. So let's get past UFC 173 and let's get to the news, people. And honestly, I know I'm inundating you with clips tonight, but Chael Sonnen, the news came down today that Wanderlei ran off when he was supposed to take a drug test, which in the commission's eyes, they see as failing it. If he ran off, there's no reason why he would run off unless he knew he was going to fail. So Wanderlei out of the UFC 175 fight against Chael Sonnen. In steps Vitor Belfort, which it's really funny. Belfort, like, the only reason Weidman's fighting Lyoto is because Belfort couldn't fight in time when the fight was originally going to be in May. But it's very ironic now that Belfort will be fighting on the same card as the title fight he had to pull out of because he couldn't make the fight. Weird shit. Let's listen from the horse's mouth. Chael Sonnen, his reaction to taking on Vitor Belfort at UFC 175, courtesy of Fox Sports Live and UFC Tonight.
Chael, the news of the day revolves around you. Obviously, when we all woke up this morning, you were set to face Wanderlei Silva at UFC 175. But as confirmed on UFC Tonight, the ex-murderer is out, and now you're facing the phenom Vitor Belfort. So first off, give us a timeline on how all this news went down.
Well, you know what? Wanderlei Silva has always operated under a shadow of speculation that he had been taking performance-enhancing drugs, but he's never tested positive, and therefore you can't say things like that. You know, that all came to a halt on Saturday. He failed a drug test. As a matter of fact, he ran from the drug test. He refused to take it. As you well know, in the eyes of a commission, a refusal is equal to a failure.
All right, so you've been saying all along, you kind of called this. You said Wanderlei was not going to show up to fight. What do you think gave it away? Why were you saying that?
You know, I had various reasons. I think that the drug test just inadvertently gets kind of worked in here as an excuse. But everything just seemed off a little bit. I asked him at the press. I asked him right here, Kenny, right here on this tape we're showing right here. All I'm saying to him is, are you going to show up on July 5th? He never answers my question. I asked him a total of 3 times. It's all I said to him the whole time we were there. 3 times I simply said, are you going to show up? And never once did he say yes.
All right, so the UFC says that Vitor's accepted the fight. Now, our own Harry Ohwani says that on June 17th, he has a hearing before the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Do you think they will license Vitor Belfort for this fight?
Yeah, I think that they will. Now, he's got some stuff that he's got to go through, and he's been sanctioned by them before. And I'm not really an expert completely on Vitor's file with Nevada, but I know that he was in a little bit of red tape. I do believe that's all behind him, and I don't think this fight would be scheduled unless he was going to get licensed.
All right, so Vitor's 13th at light heavyweight, 2nd at middleweight. This fight's going to take place at 205.
Yeah, Vitor is the #1 contender at 185 pounds. In fact, when Dana White called me and he said, look, Wanderlei's out. He ran from a drug test. Vitor is in. I simply said, is Vitor the #1 contender? And he said, yes, he is. I said, is that title on the line? And he said, yes, it is. And I said, I will take the fight.
All right, so both you and Vitor kind of have gone to 205. You both fought at middleweight, obviously. Are you officially a middleweight now?
Yeah, I've always considered myself a middleweight. I moved up and I did a couple of matches up there, and I had some pretty stiff competition. But Vitor and I are both middleweights, and in fact, if we had a little more time for this fight, it would be at 185. I'm considering this a catchweight.
Are you a little frustrated that it's Vitor instead of Wanderlei here? And how does it change your preparation at this point?
Well, I can tell you there are different fighters, and that Vitor is a really good fighter, and Wanderlei is terrible. And I didn't hide this fact. That's why I called Wanderlei out. He's a big draw. He's got a good fan base, and he's terrible. And, it was an easy payday, and I went after him. Vitor's not easy, man. Vitor's a hard fight. Vitor is my mother's favorite fighter. She wrote me today, and she said, who should I cheer for?
Wow. Well, he's my fighter of the year from last year, so the guy's
actually mine, too.
Yeah, the guy's a beast. So do you have a message for Mr. Belfort?
I don't have a message with Vitor. Look, we've all got a fate, and now we've got a date. You've stepped up. I just hope you're ready to get stepped on.
All right. All right, well, we have more breaking news. Well, not some breaking news, but great news. With TJ Dillashaw had a huge upset over Renan Barao last weekend. Just
We'll go ahead and cut it there. Yeah, Chael's going to be taking on Vitor Belfort now that Wanderlei is out of the fight. We'll talk about Silva's future with the UFC next. I don't want to touch on that yet because we might not see him fight in the UFC again. We don't know what's going to happen. But first off, I want to get your thoughts on Chael Sonnen taking on Vitor Belfort July 5th at UFC 175 at the Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas. I'm throwing it out. Who's got something to say about the fight?
I got some.
Oh, go on.
This fight, first of all, is anybody surprised? Anybody? No one's surprised. No one's surprised at all because we all knew that Wanderlei Silva was not going to fight Chael Sonnen. The fact that we've wasted so much time to even discuss the very small, slim possibility that these two would engage in combat inside of an octagon, it's preposterous that we wasted all that time. Now that we actually have a fight that's going to happen, a real fight, an entertaining fight, a very elite fight, a fight that's high level, not a beatdown. Chael Sonnen and Vitor Belfort are going to fight on July 5th, and it's going to be an incredible fight. And the crazy thing is, this isn't even the main event. This isn't even the co-main event. This is the third headlining fight. But as Chael says, this is the main event, and Ronda and Chris are providing the encores. And he truly means it because this is really main event caliber. This is the main event on any other card, pay-per-view or Fox Sports 1 or whatever the hell it is. I am incredibly biased. It is impossible for me to give a prediction that's not biased. Chael Sonnen is going to whip that ass. He's going to do it for 3 rounds. He's going to make Vitor look horrible. Although I truly do believe that Vitor Belfort, when not on testosterone replacement therapy, is top 10, but middle of the pack and not the upper echelon of the division. He struggles with wrestlers. Those first couple minutes with Vitor, it's devastating. He's a blitzer. He comes forward and he just runs that straight line and just tries to knock you out. But if you can survive that first round with Vitor, especially if you're a wrestler, you can grind out a decision and you can wear him out and possibly get a late 3rd round, or if you're in a 5-round fight, 4th, 5th round TKO against him. This is a 3-round fight, though. Chael is a wrestler. Chael is durable. Chael is smart. Chael has wanted this fight for a long time. There's 2 people that Chael really wanted to fight, and that's Anderson Silva and Vitor Belfort. He's obviously gotten to fight Anderson. He still has unfinished business with Anderson, but he gets to fight Vitor Belfort now. I think stylistically this is a tougher matchup than Anderson Silva, but I do think it's one that he can overcome, and I do think Chael Sonnen is going to walk away with the victory. One final note on this fight. Go to Chael Sonnen's page right now and just check out his background. Check out his Twitter icon or whatever, because instantaneously this guy's got his images right up. It's like he's got people in his pocket who are just producing these for him, or Chael Sonnen's this really good graphic designer all of a sudden and just magically puts up his own fight posters minutes after fights are announced. At SonnenCH, check it out on Twitter.
Hell yeah. Don't let me stop you from tooting your own horn, Ross. Davey Boy, it sounded like you had something to throw in on Sonnen versus Vitor. Actually, follow Ross at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L, because the dude does make some high-quality graphics, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, Davey. Is he still with us? He's dead.
He's broken in half.
Ninja Allen Ramses. Chael Sonnen versus Vitor Belfort. Hell yeah.
I'll shoot, man. It's time. Today, we didn't learn a damn thing. Just everybody, absolutely everybody called this and saw it coming. Chael Sonnen even tweeted out that it was going to happen months ago or whatever it was. Spoiler. Wanderlei is who we thought he was. And we let him off the hook. All right? This guy has disgraced his country, the UFC, everybody from Tough Brazil 3 that was on Team Wanderlei, men, he's his kids. Oh my God, I was in Vegas earlier today, and I was at the local Arby's restaurant. And I see Wanderlei's kids. I met him before at expos and stuff. I see his kids there eating, and I'm like, "Hey, aren't you Wanderlei's kids?" And they seriously said no. And there was a little girl. Oh man, this little girl. She was ugly as sin. I knew it was his daughter. And she started crying. She broke down and started crying. She couldn't even lie to me. All right. Wanderlei, props to Vitor for stepping up. It's damn rare, and you got to be out of your damn mind to want to fight Chael Sonnen. So this solidifies my theory that Vitor is insane. Literally, he's got to be crazy to accept this fight. One other thing about Wanderlei, though, man, this is no more mercy, no more. Let's be honest. If you've ever, I didn't want to bring this up. Nobody talks about it because it'd make Chael look like the bully or something. But honestly, if you've ever been to a UFC signing or an expo, like nobody talks about it, but they have to wheel Wanderlei Silva out in a wheelchair to these events. All right. He's that bad. For the pressers and stuff, he gets cortisone injections. It's preposterous. This man was barely alive. So, all right, he didn't want to die. That's fine. That's fine. But Wanderlei, man, you played everybody. You wasted people's time and money. Those poor fighters in Brazil. Look now what? What? You think everyone's going to watch the rest of the show? You lost. You're finished. That's the word on the street.
Would it be my turn to talk now? I'm sorry if I'm a little busy. No, it's not there. No, not there. No, they're not there. Sorry, I haven't been paying attention. I've been looking for Wanderlei Silva's balls. If anybody locates Wanderlei Silva's testicles, please return them. Send them to him in the mail because apparently he has lost them along the way. Wanderlei Silva is never going to show his face again. Never going to get a UFC title fight because all the past 5 or 6 months that we've been teased, we've been guaranteed this fight, all the hype, all the build-up, it was all Wanderlei Silva's stupid idea. The only fight that Wanderlei Silva wanted to do was a cheap shot in a gym where he had a bunch of people there to pull him off and in case he got beat up, which in fact was the case. That's the only fight Wanderlei Silva wanted with Chael Sonnen. He looked into the eyes of the king. He looked into the eyes of the man that was going to behead him in July, and it put the fear of God into Wanderlei Silva. Wanderlei Silva, the axe murderer, is no more. If this guy ever fights again, actually, I'm not even going to go that far. This guy isn't a fighter. He's a talker. He is a street thug. He is nothing. There are kids in school, bullies, cowards, that have more dignity and honor than Wanderlei Silva. And I bet you they're a lot tougher, too. Man, oh man. Wanderlei, I know you're listening to this show. I know you've got your people listening to me and every word. We've got you hanging on every word I say. You better not show your face again. I'm talking to Dana White. We're sending text messages back and forth. Your UFC career is done. If I have anything to say about it, your pathetic and horrible fake fighting career is done. Wanderlei Silva, go back to Brazil. Go back under your rock, because that's where you belong. Nobody can touch Chael Sonnen. I consider this a victory. One more on the list, one more in the column, one more for the bad guy.
It's vintage ninja.
Yeah, vintage ninja. Alan, any thoughts before we talk about Wanderlei's future in the UFC?
Chael Sonnen via TKO at the UFC 173 press conference. That's all I got to say.
Allen and Ninja are like at the opposite ends of like the promo spectrum. Like Allen's average promo lasts like maybe between like 5 and 10 seconds. Ninja, I love your damn promos, but you and Ross can cut some damn fucking lengthy promos. I love it to death, though. Some classic Ninja on this 92nd edition of the MMA Podcast. If you're still listening in, it is late, but you want to call in the numbers 213-457-3380. Let's talk about Wanderlei Silva's future in the UFC. Ross, I'll throw it over to you first. That seems to sort of be the way this show's going. Is Wanderlei done in the UFC?
I don't know, but if I'm a promoter, you got to look at it from this perspective. What is Wanderlei Silva doing for the UFC? Nothing. He's literally doing nothing. What is the UFC without Wanderlei Silva? It's pretty much the same thing it is with Wanderlei Silva.
Literally on the UFC's official show, they called Wanderlei a horrible fighter tonight.
Pretty much, you saw it. If I'm Dana White, goodbye. You're gone. I mean, the shit you've pulled over the last year, the shit you've pulled in the past, you're gone. Goodbye. Go. It's just insane. He's not valuable. He's not worth it. I don't know if his job's that secure. I mean, we haven't heard anything yet. Everybody's in the dark. We haven't really heard from Wanderlei. We haven't heard from Dana. We've heard nothing. We will hear, but so far we haven't heard anything. That being said, Wanderlei Silva is not a guy who's selling pay-per-views. I mean, this is a guy who's constantly for the past year battled back and forth over the fact that he wants pay-per-view points. But he doesn't deserve any because he's not moving any needles. I mean, what the hell is Wanderlei Silva going to do in 2014? Nothing. He's old, washed up, and I mean, a bunch of fixed fights years ago is not going to really do anything for you in the year 2014 when there are young guys who are moving up the ladder and are much more marketable than. So I don't think it really matters for the UFC to have Wanderlei Silva under contract. Yeah, sure, he's a legend, so to speak. Not to me, but to most people, he's a legend of the sport. If I had to guess, I think Dana has a relatively good relationship with Wanderlei personally. I don't think he's going to necessarily be gone, but I don't see Wanderlei Silva fighting in a cage again. I mean, this guy doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to fight. First of all, he ran from a drug test, so obviously he can't fight anymore. I mean, the dude's not going to get licensed. Second of all, he's obviously on something. He's been on something this whole time. Maybe he's been taking something and he's finally at the end of the cycle and he's ready to go, but he thought he had until July 5th to prepare for it. I mean, who knows? It's preposterous to think that Wanderlei Silva is relevant still in fighting terms in the year of 2014. I thought this guy would be gone in 2011. I honestly thought his career was over after Chris Lieben put his lights out. But yet here we are in the year 2014 speaking about Wanderlei Silva like he's a relevant top-level elite athlete in mixed martial arts, which is insane to think. Wanderlei Silva is officially irrelevant. Further discussion of Wanderlei Silva is completely unnecessary, and I vote that we all have pizza right now and do other things other than talk about Wanderlei Silva.
Sounds good to me.
Must be nice to be able to eat pizza. God damn it.
Alan's training for a fight. Alan, you think we see Wanderlei
I thought he was
Silva?
doing an impression of Hannah Barral.
Yo, Alan, you think we see Silva in the UFC anymore?
Maybe if Chael Sonnen decides to throw this next fight and somehow fight Wanderlei later on. But other than that, fuck no. I mean, unless Chael Sonnen uses Wanderlei for a practice, I don't think there's any chance we ever see Wanderlei putting on gloves.
Listen, this coward, this farce, this wannabe fighter, his name doesn't deserve to even come out of my luscious and elegant lips anymore. So this is the last. This is the last you will ever hear me say his name. Mark this date on your calendar. I will never speak this guy's name again. He does not deserve that honor. Let's raise our hands. Let's break a toast. Drink whatever you're drinking right now for the victory of Chael P. Sonnen over the coward. The last time I'm going to say his name, Wanderlei Silva.
Drink that drink, cocksuckers. Ramses, what the hell is going on, cocksucker?
Goodbye, Wanderlei Silva. You know where I come from. If you don't show up to work, you get fired.
What?
All right? If you say you're going to do something, you do it. That's the first rule of respect and just honor and being a man. Being a decent human being. And not a scumbag piece of jabroni crap like Wanderlei Silva. I think he's finished. They should run him out of here. I mean, what fight are you ever going to trust this guy with again? You know what I'm saying? This thing, he said he was going to do it. He filmed the whole season of television, drunk off his ass, but he still said he was going to do it. He made himself look tough. He was huffing and puffing, trying to step up to Chael Sonnen. And here's another thing. Back when I used to pitch for the Round Rock Express, there was a rule in the game, all right? If you don't show up to play ball, you forfeit. You forfeit the entire game. That's exactly what happened. This is not a no contest. It is not a canceled fight. It is it's a forfeit. Chael Sonnen wins. This is another one in the win column, another one for the good guys. And Wanderlei Silva, man, he's not welcome anywhere. Not in Vegas, not in his own house. He's in the doghouse, literally. He's sleeping out in his fucking doghouse. Believe me, go check. You'll see him, whatever. That's what's happening to him. His life is over. I hope he has at least one friend left that's going to just watch over him for the next couple of days. Because honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up dead. Word on the street.
That's the word on the street.
Wait. Ramses, yeah. You played minor league ball?
I pitched for the Round Rock Express, yeah, until I got hurt. My knee.
Speaking of minor league ball, what an amazing transition to the 10 solid seconds of sports, where every episode we break down all things MMA, NHL, NFL, all the other sports, but we keep it to 10 seconds. Let's do it. New York and LA hold 3-2 leads on Montreal and Chicago, respectively, in the Stanley Cup Conference Finals. In the NBA, similar situations brewing Miami over Indiana and San Antonio and OKC not up at 2. Real Madrid wins Champions League. Man U and Tampa Bay Bucks over Malcolm Lake. Woo! Hell yeah, let's move on. Robbie Lawler and Matt Brown, that was the story yesterday. It's been announced they're going to headline UFC on Fox 12 in San Jose, California. Gonna be a hell of a welterweight fight. Gonna be a title eliminator match according to Dana White. Who you got, and should the winner get a title shot? A lot of people are saying that the winner of Rory McDonald and Tyron Woodley deserve it more. I disagree wholeheartedly. Woodley has beat one UFC elite opponent. Rory lost just last November. Give the title shot to the winner of Lawler versus Matt Brown. Lawler was a round away from beating Hendricks, and Matt Brown is on the second longest streak currently in the UFC. He and Weidman have 7 wins in a row. John Jones leading that list with 11. Who you got? Should the winner get a title shot? Robbie Lawler and Matt Brown going down at UFC on Fox 12.
All right, I'm going to keep it short because this is going 2 hours now, and we're going to end up going 3 if I don't keep it short.
Hell yeah.
Robbie Lawler, Matt Brown, fantastic fight, high-level fight. It's the closest you can get to a title fight without there being a belt on the line. It's 5 rounds. It's the main event. It's beautiful. I love it. I don't know who's going to win. Both guys come forward. Both guys are really good at cutting off the cage, especially Matt Brown, which is why he's on this great streak. He's improved his wrestling, but more importantly, he's learned how to cut off the cage perfectly, which is very difficult to do because the cage is like a circle. The octagon is shaped. It's the closest thing to a circle. Ramsey said it last night. It's the basically the squared circle, the real squared circle. Boxing ring, it's easier to cut off because there's only 4 sides. Octagon, much more difficult. Matt Brown has mastered that. Robbie Lawler is very good at that. He comes forward, he presses the action, and he looks to bang. Both guys love to bang. They're going to stand and trade. Maybe we see a little bit of wrestling from Robbie Lawler. Maybe we see a little bit of wrestling from Matt Brown. Who knows? I love it. Yes, the winner should get a title shot, of course.
Hell yeah, in this fight, UFC on Fox 12, it's going to be July 26th of this year at the SAP Center in San Jose, California. Main evented by Lawler and Brown. Co-main, Rumble Johnson and Little Nog. We also got Josh Thompson versus Michael Johnson. Clay Guida versus Dennis Bermudez. Jorge Masvidal taking on Darren Cruikshank, a fight we're going to break down a little later. Any other thoughts on Robbie Lawler taking on Matt Brown here in a welterweight title eliminator?
I know you all love to hear the Ninja's voice, but I'm going to do the same thing Ross did. Try to keep this short and sweet as we're running a little long. I think this is going to be a great fight. I think it's going to come down to who lands that one really strong punch. Both of these guys have incredible power. Whoever lands that big power punch first is going to take this fight. It's going to totally disrupt the game plan of the other guy. The title picture, as I see it, this might be a little confusing to some. I'll try to get through it really quick. If Matt Brown wins, I think he deserves a title shot. If Tyrone Woodley wins, I think he deserves a title shot. If Robbie Lawler wins, he should fight the Canadian dude. If the Canadian dude wins, he should fight Robbie Lawler. That's the way I have it. Just because those guys, both of those guys have a recent loss. I think they should have one more before they go. Great fight. Don't miss this one. It's going to be awesome.
And I actually forgot I wanted to quote a friend of mine, Jay Jeans. He had a very good Facebook post on it saying, quote, "If you'd have told me in 2012 that Matt Brown, who was 1-4 in recent fights back then, and Robbie Lawler, who was 3-5, would be fighting in a title elimination bout in 2014, I'd have thought either A, GSP was fighting 8 times a year and had already cleared out everyone else possibly left in the division, B, thought that the UFC had aired another tough comeback season and they were the finalists, or C, just thought you were insane." 2 years later, Lawler is 4-1 at welterweight, with his only loss being a close championship fight, and Matt Brown is 7-0. 2 great and inspiring comeback stories, 2 exciting fighters, 1 Fight of the Year candidate. Alan, thoughts on Matt Brown taking on Robbie Lawler?
I'm kind of torn on this because I don't think that these guys needed to fight another time in order to earn a title shot. I think what they've done already speaks volumes. But with Johnny Hendricks being injured and not being ready in time to fight till the latter part of the year, it's pretty much all that they could do. And with Tyrone and fucking Roy McDonald over there, that can't be a title eliminator because those guys don't deserve a shot yet. They haven't put together quite the win streak and haven't fought the same type of competition. So this is basically all that you could do. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to please all the fans, and it's going to make a hell of a lot of money, being that it's in California, and it's every time they have a fight out there, it's always exciting, and yeah, it's whatever. It's just. I'm just torn because I don't think these guys had to fight again. Like, I think what they've already done just already deserved title shot.
Ramses?
God is my witness. Oh, yeah, I'm not riding this damn train here. To be honest, excuse me. Sorry. Robbie Lawler, Matt Brown, yeah, great fight, whatever, who cares? I'll watch it. But Matt Brown, I'm not completely sold on him just yet. Impressive performances, but I mean, this is the man who was at the concert when Dimebag Darrell was shot to death. That's all I have to say.
Powerful.
We will briskly move on from Lawler Brown to Bigfoot Silva. He says he wants Josh Barnett next. Who you got in a match between Bigfoot Silva and Josh Barnett? I'm leaning toward the War Master, Barnett.
Woof. This fight gets a 0. I thought they had buried Bigfoot Silva. I thought he was dead. Now he's coming back against Josh Haven't they both been popped for steroids? As God is my witness.
Yeah, Barnett got popped back in the old days, his first run with the UFC.
Yeah, he was the champion, wasn't he? And then he got busted and stripped.
And we all know the UFC literally buried Bigfoot Silva.
And we literally buried the guy.
Hell yeah, man. But I guess I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not gonna watch this damn fight. It's like give me a hell yeah, but this is a nothing match. This is just like, this might as well be a dark match as far as the rankings go. None of this matters, but I'll watch it.
I don't think this fight ends up happening. I believe Josh Barnett ends up fighting Alistair Overeem, and probably in September in Japan. Although, who knows? Bigfoot obviously is in the shitter right now, but I've been a big hater of Bigfoot. I've hated on his skills. I've kind of said a lot of bad things about him, and he's proven me wrong. He's improved tremendously. He's added a lot of movement, a lot of head movement. He was moving side to side in his fight with Mark Hunt. He looks more refined with his striking. His grappling is getting better, and his top control is, devastating. If that dude's on top of you, it's impossible to get him off. He's just so damn big. So it's an interesting fight. Josh Barnett's obviously been one of the best in the world for a very, very, very long time. I don't know. I think Barnett should be able to take Bigfoot down. Should. But Barnett obviously was knocked out in his last fight. And Bigfoot Silva can knock you out with one punch. I mean, he's got massive hands. He's a heavyweight, and he hits really, really hard. So it's tricky. If Barnett can get around that, and Barnett can utilize his wrestling to earn a decision, then he would win that fight. But I don't know if he can dodge one of Bigfoot's punches.
Again, keeping this short and sweet, I don't care who it is. I can't wait to see that crazy son of a bitch, Josh Barnett, get in there and just pummel somebody into the ground. He's a great striker. I don't care who it is. He's going to lay in hands. He's got really heavy punches. He's going to outstrike Bigfoot Silva if this fight actually happens. If not, it's just good to see him in the ring. He's so crazy, so skilled. I love him to death. Can't wait to watch.
Alan?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't really have too much on this fight. I don't really see Bigfoot Silva coming back. He was on TRT for his giganticism or whatever the fuck he had for his gonads or his pituitary gland or whatever the shit is that makes him all fucked up. And I think he's done. He's done.
Officer Allen says he's done. We'll move on to the beatdown of the month in a second, but actually our buddy the Gracie Ninja, he said before the show that he wants to break down the Henzo incident, take a step down from the promos and everything, and actually just break it down one-on-one. Ninja, it's all you. Henzo, we all know, arrested a couple weeks ago, involved with a fight at a nightclub, everything. Tell us, man, what the fuck went down? We all know that Henzo is a friend of yours. He helped you out of a huge hole, and now he himself, is in somewhat of a pickle. What the fuck went down, bro?
All right, listen. I'm going to step down I'm going to break kayfabe here for a minute and talk to you as Chris Gracie, the real me. It's no secret what I went through, and Renzo literally was the man that pulled me out of that. Renzo inducted me into this great family. If I had to pick any family to be a part of, it would be the Gracie family, and Renzo has made that official. That I am part of this family. Now, what I'm reading online is a lot of flack on Renzo Gracie. A lot of people are talking a lot of crap about him, and that's fine. We're Gracies. We're professionals. A lot of people talk crap about me, believe it or not. It happens. That's fine. People are entitled to and say, exactly what they want to. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem I'm seeing, and what really, really bothers me about this situation, is that people are starting to disrespect my family, the Gracie family. And that's where you start running into problems. Is I don't care what you say, and any Gracie will tell you this, I guarantee you. Anybody from Hoist to Henner to Hickson to, all of the Gracies, including me, including Renzo, we don't give a crap what you say about us because I know what happened in this situation. The people that need to know, the important people, know the truth about the Renzo situation. So people can believe what they want to believe. They're going to anyway, regardless of how much I can say, how much, Renzo's done for me and what a great man he is. They're going to believe what they want to believe. That's the way some people are. But like I was saying, any Gracie could tell you, you can say anything you want about me. But as soon as you start talking about my family, as soon as you start disrespecting my family, that's when you run into problems. Because in this Gracie family, that is unacceptable. And I'm seeing a lot of it. And frankly, and I'll be straightforward with you all, it's really starting to piss me off. Renzo Gracie is a great man. People are using this guy's statements. They're making up. They're getting their information about Renzo Gracie from the people that talk bad about Renzo Gracie. That's not smart. If you want a clear picture of Renzo Gracie, talk to the people that know him well and have great stories about him. You're already going into this with a predetermined outlook of how you want to see Renzo Gracie, and any Gracie for that matter. I can tell you, like, I can go on and on about this
Tell
story.
Us what went down. We want to know the truth.
Fake this is. First of all, the guy that it's utterly ridiculous. The guy that said that Renzo and a bunch, Renzo and our brother Igor, get out of a van and just run up to you and tackle you and mount you and want to demolish you, and then you pull him down. This is an absurd story. It's so absurd it doesn't even get, it shouldn't get my respect. I'm not going to talk about the story because it's utterly ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
It's just complete lies, and I don't want to continue those lies. Renzo's a great man, and let's pretend. Let's just pretend that Renzo Gracie did jump out of a van and did run up on this guy and go to beat the crap out of him. Renzo even said, "I thought I was going to fight this guy." Renzo even said, "I was going to fight this guy."
I'll fuck you up, Jake.
Until I thought this was going to be a fight until the guy kind of pussed out. And like I said, you don't fuck with the Gracie family. Let me just put it. Let me just keep it short and sweet. Let me end this now. I could go on and on. You don't fuck with the Gracie family. That's all I gotta say, because shit's gonna happen if you do. Have respect. Show my family some honor, or you're gonna have to pay for it. What are you gonna say?
Fucking yeah! Don't believe everything you read on TMZ, people. Before we get to the beatdown of the month, I have a few news snippets. We're not going to discuss it. I'm just throwing it out there for you, the listener. Glory 17 shaping up to be an amazing card. June 21st. It's going to be 2 separate events. Glory 17 on Spike at 8 Eastern. The pay-per-view at 10 Eastern. Last Man Standing, a middleweight tournament with names like Artem Levin, the #1 ranked middleweight, Joe Schilling, knockout artist Wayne Barrett, Melvin Manhoof, Philippe Verlinden. It's going to be a hell of a fucking fight. We also see a welterweight championship fight between Mark DeBont and Bazooka Joe, Joseph Valentini. We're also going to see a heavyweight championship between Rico Verhoeven and Daniel Guita. On the Glory 17 card on Spike, we're going to see Andy Risty versus Kai Hollenbeck. Miguel Torres was scheduled to make his Glory debut as a participant of the featherweight tournament. However, yesterday it was revealed he pulled out of the tournament for undisclosed reasons, replaced by Marcus Vinicius. Sergey Karatanov also out, replaced by Jarrell Miller. Going to be taking on Mirko Krokop on that Glory 17 card. Joe Rogan is going to do another fight companion podcast this Saturday evening for the Tough Brazil 3, the Tough Brazil 3 finale, headlined by Stipe Miocic and Fabio Maldonado. I was just clicking over to make sure that was the card they were going to be breaking down. Along with next Monday, Rogan's supposed to have Dillashaw and Ludwig back in the studio. Rich Franklin, now officially a vice president at ONE FC. The World Series of Fighting signing a deal putting them on NBC. Bellator hitting just north of 100,000 pay-per-view buys last weekend. Alistair Overeem recovering from an elbow procedure, but he wants a spot on that UFC Japan card in September. Dominic Cruz back sparring, aiming for a return in 2 to 4 months. Ryan LaFleur out, Zach Cummings to replace him to fight Gunnar Nelson in Dublin. We finally see some gameplay on that EA UFC game slated for release June 17th. And finally, Jones vs. Gustafsson 2, targeted for August 30th in Las Vegas. Let's get to the beatdown of the month segment, where we break down what we thought was the biggest beatdown of the month. Let's do it, people. Oops. My beatdown of May 2014 was the man who's been on the podcast twice, was on the first episode, Darren Cruikshank, an underdog against Eric Koch, going in there laying the wood against Eric Koch. Shout out to Darren Cruikshank. He's going to be taking on Jorge Masvidal. We're going to break that down next. But yeah, excellent fight. My beatdown of the month. Before I pass it to Ross, I also wanted to get Yao's beatdown. He chose Mitch Clark over Al Iaquinta. Ross, your beatdown of the month. Yao really wanted me to make sure that I said that his beatdown was Mitch Clark
Jake,
choking Al Iaquinta unconscious.
Can you stop the music for a second? Yeah, the truth. I know you're fucking listening to this shit. I know you listen to every single one of these MMA podcasts. I know you listen to every single word on the street. I know. You even go back and you listen to Final Rounds when you have no time, when you've got a bunch of time on your hands, nothing to do. I just want to let you know, fuck you. I will see you soon, and bad things will happen to you. Play the music, Jake. My beatdown of the month is none other than the masterful performance that TJ Dillashaw put on this past Saturday when he destroyed Renan Barão. Truly the greatest performance in MMA history. My beatdown, actually, just a little side note, my greatest beatdown in MMA history, Joe Lozon versus Melvin Guillard. Word on the street.
Word on the street.
Well, damn, I'll tell you what my beatdown of the month was. Yes, I trashed him earlier on this very same show, but now I will praise him. Matt Brown defeating Eric Silva, beating him, stomping him, dismantling him. Like so much gelatin. This fight was epic. It was a surprise. It was a slobber knocker, all the way. It was like, oh, what's gonna happen next? This is great. Now this young man is getting, beaten to death in front of our very eyes, in front of his hot ass Brazilian girlfriend. This Eric Silva, man. These are two horrible knockouts in the past year. This kid needs a break. I don't know. Maybe it's time to hang him. I don't even know. But Matt Brown destroyed him. He wasn't immortal. He was more zombie-like. This guy was falling apart too. I don't know how he's making this comeback so soon. It doesn't make any damn sense at all. But you know what? I used to bash this guy left and right on this show. Now I know his name. I know his face. He was there when Dimebag Darrell was shot to death on stage at a concert that took place December 8th, my birthday. And that's the bottom line.
The Ninjas beat down of the month. There's a reason why I didn't touch on it earlier, and I'm going to do so now. Daniel Cormier versus Dan Henderson. First of all, you have to look at it like, for one, anybody to beat down Dan Henderson, that's a huge feat. And Daniel Cormier did just that. This past Saturday, he gained a fan. I am a fan of Daniel Cormier. Anybody that could do what he did to the legendary Dan Henderson deserves to be down of the month. I mean, at one point, he picked this guy up over his head. This is Dan Henderson. This is a legend. He picked him up over his head and threw him like he was nothing. Like he was a sack of rice. And he just threw him to the ground. At one point, he had him in side control, and he picked him up in side control and just slammed him. I mean, this was utterly insane. First time I think I've ever seen Dan Henderson get choked out. Daniel Cormier, the bigger, better, strong. This man, he may look overweight, he may look heavy, but I assure you, Daniel Cormier is one of the strongest men, if not the strongest man in the UFC. My beatdown of the week, my beatdown of the month, my beatdown of the year, really. Daniel Cormier over Dan Henderson.
Alan?
You know what? My beatdown was going to be Takeo Mizugaki of Francisco Rivera, but I changed my mind because I believe on that card there was a beatdown by an American of an African, and it was Vince Chael beating the shit out of Injikawani. So that's my beatdown of the month.
Hell yeah. Honorable mentions going out to Zach Cummings, Team Darkside over Jan Cabral, and of course Robbie Lawler over Jake Allenberger. Let's move on. Only two more things to break down. Let's get through them quick. Their fight bookings. Jorge Masvidal versus Darren Cruikshank at UFC on Fox 12. And Darren's getting fed more and more game opponents. He's really got a test, and Jorge Masvidal probably going to be an underdog yet again. What do you think about this fight? UFC on Fox 12, July 26th in San Jose, California.
Yeah, this is a fun one. This is a very, very fun one. I don't know. Cruikshank's looked amazing in his last two. I do think the last fight was kind of stopped a little bit early, but hey, he just got him. He caught him with an amazing. I mean, those kicks were awesome. The switch kick, that was fucking awesome. Going high with the right and then high with the left is something you don't see often. That's like something Kung Lee would do. He's the lightweight Kung Lee. Jorge Masvidal, though, is well-rounded, one of the most underrated guys in the division. Both these guys are incredibly underrated. I got Cruikshank just slightly because I think he's looked phenomenal in his last two. But who knows?
Yeah, I'll go next. I think this fight's going to be amazing because two things. Jorge Masvidal, the only guy to defeat Michael Chiesa in the UFC. Let's remember that. Gave him his first professional loss. Jorge Masvidal trains at American Top Team with a whole bunch of studs. Jorge Masvidal in the past has been accused of not training and getting in peak shape, but, guess what? He's looked pretty great his last couple of outings, and the one opening I see for Darren Cruikshank being able to, win this fight and put Masvidal away is Masvidal tends to get tired and puts his hands down a lot and kind of entices his opponent. So it's going to be really interesting to see how their styles. It's a really great stylistic matchup because Masvidal, is great grappling, really good striking, and he's tough as fucking nails. So we're going to get to see a guy who's a highlight reel striker and, Cruikshank, and we're going to get to see a tough, gritty guy who opens himself up to strike sometimes. So it's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be fight of the night. And it just, Jesus Christ.
This is going to be another showcase, in my opinion, people. Jorge Masvidal, sorry, Alan, but he's gonna be utterly destroyed. He's going to be blown apart. Like, Darren Cruikshank is going to consume him like Galactus, like Hornswoggle. Jorge Masvidal doesn't stand a chance. Darren Cruikshank is on fire. He knows what he has to do now. It's all become clear. It's like in the movie The Matrix, when Neo finally figures out at the end of it that he has the ability to see the code itself and manipulate it as he sees fit. He stops the bullets. This is the moment that we've arrived at with Darren Cruikshank. Believe. He's going to be put over. He's a future champ all the way. And yes, I am friends with him. Word on the street.
Yeah, I don't know what much more you can say about this fight that hasn't been said already. This is going to be a war. Classic striker versus grappler. They're both really, really talented guys. I see this one going to a decision. To whom, I don't know. Just because these guys are so equal, so talented, and I don't think there's a person in the world that's going to be able to step in between these two guys when they fight and stop each other. I don't think either one of them can stop the other one because both of these guys will fight until they literally just go unconscious in the ring, and that's going to lead to a decision. Nothing's going to stop these guys. It's too much grit, too much talent. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I don't know about a striker and a grappler. Both of them are definitely, strikers. Speaking of strikers, Kung Lee. We talked about the co-main event last week. It's going to be Hector Lombard and Dong Yeon Kim, but Kung Lee is taking on Michael Bisping. This is a big question. We actually asked Tim Kennedy last week. If you haven't heard the interview, I asked him what he thought about Michael's eye and whether that was still a factor. And Kennedy said, yeah, whether his eye will keep being a problem, we'll see. Michael Bisping, Kung Lee gonna headline the UFC's August event in Macau over in China. Who you got in this one? Final bit of news before we get to this week's fight tip. Preview the 2 Saturday UFC events and get the fuck out of here. We're already 2 hours and 15 minutes in.
If Bisping's eye is all good and he's in good shape and all that, Bisping. And that's all I'm going to say because this has been going on really, really long.
I'm just looking forward to 13 hours of fights, and that's all I have to say.
Juice got to get some damn sleep. Ninja?
I don't care how long the show goes. We're bringing great stuff to the people listening out there, but I'll keep it short for the respect of the other people on the podcast. This is going to be a great fight. One of the fights, since it's been announced recently, I wish they would have announced this fight a long time ago because this would have been one of the biggest fights I'm looking forward to. I love the hell out of Michael Bisping. Great guy. I've talked to him from time to time. I've also been able to have the chance to speak with Kung Lee, go back and forth a little bit on Twitter. He seems like an amazing guy. Really hard to choose. I love these guys both. I cannot wait to see Kung Lee get back in that cage. I love everything that guy does. I hate to say it. I hate to see Michael Bisping lose, but if it's the Kung Lee that we're used to, Kung Lee's got so many weapons that he can use, and I think it's going to be too much for anybody, really.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Ninja. I definitely think that Kung Lee is going to knock Michael Bisping the fuck out. He's going to look like Rich Franklin. He's going to look silly.
He's going to make him look silly. That does it, I guess, for the news. Still, the UFC Fight Night Munoz-Mousasi card over in Europe. The Tough Brazil 3 finale card. We got to break those down. But you know what time it is, people. It's time for Ramsey's Fight Tips.
As God is my witness, people, welcome once more the MMA Podcast, bringing you the fight tip of the week, the word in the street fight tip of the week. This is Ramses. Just being honest with you, people. This was I'm going to keep it short, man. Short fight tip this week. This is more of a, there's something when you whoop people's ass on a regular basis, you get bored with just being like, oh, what that guy's ass. You got to come up with, little names. You have to name your beat downs. For instance, Renzo Gracie. We were just talking about him earlier. Remember when those dudes tried to mug him while he was like just tweeting out prizes or something? And then he tweeted out like, he beat those men. He submitted them. He choked them out or whatever. And then he brought up that he gave him what's known as the raccoon. He gave him the raccoon eyes. He just, he gave him like dual black eyes, and he calls it the raccoon. It's a fight beat down name. It's just, you come up with little names in the business, And the one I got to tell you about is a simple one. It's called Mr. Potato Head Beatdown. Mr. Potato Head. All right, what you do, it's similar to the raccoon. You basically just hit the person in target areas in their fucking face until they swell up and look like Mr. Potato Head. Hit them in that lip, that bottom lip, upper lip, swell them up. Hit them in the nose, rearrange it, make it spin, make it crooked. Haha, it's not exactly on center. Just like Mr. Potato Head. Hit him in the eyes, watch him bulge. Clip him in the ear, fill up with blood. And then finally, it's Mr. Potato Head, so what you do is you hold the choke. You hold that choke past the point of no return, but right before you kill them. This will make them a vegetable. It will make them an actual human potato. That's the word on the street fight tip for this week. See ya at the dojo.
See you at the dojo, people. A short and sweet fight tip for you this week on the MMA Podcast. Let's get straight to it. Honestly, there aren't really that many fights of note. This isn't as stacked a card as 173. So I just want to break the whole card down and one breakdown. What do you think stands out? UFC Fight Night, Munoz versus Mousasi. It's going to be on Fight Pass. Broadcast from the O2 World in Berlin, Germany, Saturday afternoon if you're in the U.S. Headlined by Munoz and Mousasi. On the prelim card on UFC Fight Pass, we're going to see a heavyweight fight between Victor Pesta and Ruslan Magomedov, a featherweight bout between Andy Ogle and Maximo Blanco. Pito Sabata taking on Powell Paulik at welterweight. Uriel Alcantara taking on the overmatched Wanderlei at bantamweight. I think Yuri's a big favorite there. Middleweight fight between Magnus Sindenblad and Krzysztof Jotko, and a lightweight fight between Nick Hein and Drew Dober. Moving to the main card, which will also be on UFC Fight Pass, a featherweight bout between Tom Ninamaki and Nicholas Backstrom. A middleweight fight between Team Darkside Zone, Luke Barnett and Sean Strickland. A middleweight fight between Francis Carmont and the Bulldog CB Dalloway. And, of course, your main event, Mark Munoz versus Gegard Mousasi. Impressions, which fights stand out? What do you think about Munoz versus Mousasi? Ross, I'll throw to you first.
Well, first off, out of the two cards, this one's the better card. This one's the much better card. It's on Fight Pass, but you're getting a higher quality set of fights. From the first fight of the night, I mean, you get the debuts of two heavyweight prospects. One of them is highly touted. Ruslan Magomedov is very highly touted. One of the top heavyweight prospects. My number one heavyweight prospect to look out for in the UFC. Then you got Andy Ogle and Maximo Blanco, which is a featherweight war. Peter Sabata comes back to the UFC. That'll be great. You mentioned that Yuri Alcantara and Wanderlei is going to be a beatdown. you will be surprised what Wanderlei can do. Wanderlei looked incredible in his last fight. He looked very, very good. His striking was really, really good against Nam Phan, who's a great boxer. So it was a great performance, and I think he's really going to surprise a lot of people. And if you really break down the losses on Wanderlei's record, he's really only lost to like TJ Dillashaw and Rafael Assunção. And I mean, Dillashaw's the champion, and Rafael Assunção beat technically Dillashaw. So he lost the two best guys in the division, basically. Then you've got on the main card Tom Ninamaki, who I think is incredible at featherweight and a guy that everyone needs to look out for. He's rising up the ranks. He's returned to MMA in 2010, I believe, and since then he's just been undefeated. He's won like 11 or 12 straight. He out-grappled Hani Yahya in his last fight. He's awesome. He's fantastic. So, yeah, look out for him. Luke Barnett and Sean Strickland, that's... one of these guys is going to rise to the occasion. We're going to have a new young guy to look out for in the middleweight division. Luke is obviously a Team Dark Side guy, but Sean Strickland is 14-0 or 15-0 now, and you can't sleep on that guy. Carmont and CB Dalloway, I'm going for Dalloway there. Power MMA guy. He's a power MMA guy. He's the affiliate out in Arizona, but Carmont is a tough fight. He's looked really good in his last two, especially against Jacare. Even though he lost, he showed a lot of grittiness, and he really, if he fought intelligently like he did in the second round for the third round and first round, he would have beaten Jacare. And then, of course, the main event, Munoz and Gegard Mousasi. The question is, can Munoz take him down? He should be able to. Will he? Probably not. He's probably going to get knocked out. Mousasi will probably finish him in the first 2 rounds or so. But yeah, this is the card to look out for. This is the much better card, in my opinion.
Holy shit, can I just say something? It's not even about this upcoming. I'm really excited, whatever. 13 hours, 14 hours of UFC on Saturday. I had to lie to my parents just so they wouldn't show up and ruin this day for me. But I just want to say, as a little side note here, I'm just getting disgusted here as we're trying to do this show. I'll just say this. I know he's listening. And I'll call him out directly. It's not often I do this, but Matt Hughes, back off right now, son. All right? Stay away from her. You don't want to go there. Just because it's summer doesn't mean that you can come over and piss in my pool. That's the word on the street.
A long
Ramses.
time ago. Go ahead.
I don't have much to say. Ramses, everybody's already pissed in your pool. This card's going to be great. Luke Barnett, undefeated. Go, Team Dark Side. That's it.
And Matt Hughes has pissed in many a pool. Ninja?
A long time ago, one of my close and personal friends from high school, his name's Jesus Canedo. Follow him on Twitter. I swear to God, before anybody knew who Gegard Mousasi was, he knew who this guy was. He said, look out for this guy. This guy's been frickin' phenomenal ever since. My buddy Jesus knows his shit. I cannot wait. Gegard's been on fire. He impresses me every time he hits the ring. I cannot wait. He's going to do the same again. Bring it on. I love it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's going to be... Pardon me, I have a lump in my throat. It is going to be a fun Saturday, 13 hours of fights. Like Ramsey said, we've got the fight we just broke down, UFC Fight Night Munoz Mousasi, coming from Germany that afternoon. That evening, if you're in the U.S., the Fox Sports 1 card starts at 10 in the East, 7 in the West. We've got a prelim Fight Pass card of Pedro Munoz, Matt Hobart, Ricardo Abreu versus Wagner Silva, and Marcos Rogerio de Lima against Richardson Moreira. The Tough Brazil 3 finale. When we move to the prelims on Fox Sports 1, we got Rodrigo Dam taking on Rashid Magomedov, Elias Silverio versus Ernest Chavez, both of those lightweight fights. Paulo Thiago taking on Ghassan Umalatov, which actually is a very underrated fight. I'm looking forward to that one. and Kevin Souza taking on Mark Adiva. Mark being the guy who pulled off a big upset against the the Wolf or the Timber Wolf or something over at that first UFC Macau. Moving on to the main card that starts 10 in the East, we got Hani Jason taking on Robbie Peralta, Damian Maia taking on Alexander Yakovlev in a fight that Maia should earn a submission in. A middleweight fight for the TUF Championship, the TUF Brazil 3 Championship. Mauricio Alexander Jr. taking on Warley Alves, Vitor Miranda taking on Antonio Carlos Jr. for the TUF Brazil 3 heavyweight crown, and of course your main event, Stipe Miocic, who originally was supposed to fight Junior Dos Santos. Dos Santos had to back out. Fabio Maldonado filled his place. Should be a fun fight, but Miocic is a heavy favorite. Thoughts on that, Ross?
The Stipe Miocic, I'm just going to break down the main event really, but Stipe Miocic and Fabio Maldonado was a freak show fight. Fabio Maldonado is a light heavyweight who should be a middleweight. Why he's fighting at heavyweight, I don't know. He's tough as hell, though. And he's got great boxing. He's got great body punching. That being said, Stipe Miocic is a top 10 heavyweight, and this should be a relatively easy task for him. He should be able to finish Fabio Maldonado, honestly.
Not everybody at once.
I got nothing on this, man. I'm done.
All right, I'll go, and I'll make it quick because I can hear that Oscar speech music starting to cut in. This is going too long. Look out for Hani Jason. Lyoto's in it. He's going to be the TUF champion like I predicted at the beginning of the season. I love that guy. Let's go, Lyoto. The only thing that we need to think about is that Team Chael Sonnen is victorious again, no matter how this card ends up. We have won again. Team Sonnen, the first and only. I'd like to thank Team Sonnen.
Playing the Oscar music. Sorry.
I'd like to thank Team Sonnen, the first and only undefeated team. Thank you, God. Thank you to all my fans, the writers. Thanks. Sorry, I was just going with the Oscar theme. So.
Alan, what do you think about the TUF Brazil 3 finale? I did mention it briefly during the snippets part, but I'm definitely going to be tuned into the Rogan Fight Companion podcast live.
It's a bunch of Brazilians beating up a bunch of other Brazilians. So getting to see some Brazilians get hurt and the process will make me very happy. I always like to see a good Brazilian ass whipping, so I'll tune in. But I don't have much to say about the card. And I'm putting some money down on Fabio.
Ramses, you have no comments on the TUF Brazil 3 finale. You hosted a show where we broke down TUF Brazil 3 every night. Come on, son.
I'm excited. It's just, it's one of these things where it's like the end of the third Lord of the Rings movie, where it's like, man, how many endings this thing got to have? Team Sonnen already won on Sunday on the show. Coach Huey himself pointed that out. Mathematically, they already sealed the deal as far as wins go for Team Sonnen, defeating Team Wanderlei Silva. Of course, is it a coincidence that Wanderlei backs out of the fight the day before this episode aired, ducking the drug test? I don't know. You people tell me. I have no idea what we were talking about, but I just want to say that is the word on the street. Word on the street.
That's right. That was not a drop. Neither is
I root
this.
for all black fighters solely because they're black just like me.
Yeah. What's up, yeah?
And those are the only drops I'm going to play tonight. Maybe another night for other more controversial drops. But that does it for this episode of the MMA Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast. Visit themmapodcast.com. Click the links at the top to subscribe on iTunes and YouTube. Ross Finkelstein, where do we find you? What letter should go before what other letter?
Ladies and gentlemen, at Ross Finkelstein. E before the L. Need I say more?
You don't. Ninja Gracie, where do we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Ninja Gracie. Follow me. It'll change your life.
I think it's the Gracie Ninja. I totally fucked that up, and I think I fucked you up. The Gracie Ninja, right? Not the Ninja Gracie.
The Gracie Ninja. The Ninja Gracie. It's all the same. Yes. Follow me at the Gracie Ninja. Gracie before the Ninja. Need I say more?
Sorry, folks. Me and the Ninja Gracie were doing a bunch of steroids, injecting it into our veins before the show. We're all sorts of fucked up. Alan, where do we find you? Thank you for protecting the mean streets of our nation's Gulf Coast.
You can unfortunately catch me on Twitter at Westland Eagle AH and also on Instagram. But if you do follow me, I feel sorry for you.
Yo, if you want to change your life, start listening to the Word on the Street podcast, people. Ramses, where do we find it?
You can look me up on your own damn time, people. Just get on Twitter and ask about the word on the street. Just ask people, what's the word on the street? You'll find me. And that's the bottom line. Word on the street.
And that's the bottom line. As we move into June, I hope everyone has a great summer. Thank you so much for all our supporters. Fucking Conley Razor. Who else? Fucking our boy Kevin Black. That's Savage. Mystery Meds. The Enthusiast. Mad Samurai. Fatal Tito. AMS. Fucking, like, honestly, everyone listening, tweeting us. Hornswoggle. Heelswoggle. Pardon me. Tune in to Payback this Sunday. Watch the pre-show. Hornswoggle in a epic, a mask versus hair match. Fucking ridiculous shit. But getting back to the fucking point, we appreciate you listening, appreciate all the positive support. We love this shit out of you people. Once again, themmapodcast.com. Subscribe to us, iTunes. We usually get it up that same night along with our YouTube channels. I love you. We'll see you next week for the 93rd episode. We gone.
Back in the day when I was learning to rock in this mic, paying homage to the classic shit. Dilated, undisputed heavyweights repping Los Angeles. And yeah, I do this for the 213. Historical flip down, you know I'm with that G. So fire in the hole, slick with the flow. High caliber weapons is here to shatter the fucking mold. Come on.